Hey, welcome to Music Relish Podcast with Perry, Lou, and Mark. My name is Perry.
My name is Lou.
And I'm Mark.
And we're going to have a good show tonight, right? We're going to talk about, well, I've got a few things to talk about, but we've all got a few subjects that we tend to get into. So I think it's going to be a good show. What do you guys think?
Great.
I'm all about it.
It's a great
I'm ready to rip.
Great weather. Let's go for it.
Do.
To drink from the fountain of music knowledge.
Yes. All right, man. So how's everybody doing?
Doing good.
Doing good.
Great.
It's in the summertime and the weather is fine, right?
Yeah.
It's humid as hell down here. It's like New Jersey.
Really?
Why'd I move?
Well, Mark and I were just discussing before you logged in that like we're gonna try and get down there somehow, and maybe not during monsoon season or something.
When September ends. Yeah, don't come down. September's dangerous. October's cool.
Yeah.
Also, October's beautiful everywhere. In New Jersey, it's the leaves are changing. Down here, but it's the same thing. But I've never experienced a more humid summer than I had in North Carolina, Western North Carolina, than I have this year.
And because you're in the mountains, do people come there to catch the foliage and all that?
Yeah,
and a destination for that.
The locals who hate tourists call them the leaf peepers, or just the peepers.
Really?
I don't have
leaf
a problem
peepers?
with tourists. No, we're all tourists.
Good name for a band, don't you think?
The
leaf
peepers. Sure, yeah. And better than the peepers, because that's kind of creepy.
Well, up in Vermont, they call
the
people from
watchers.
Jersey. They call people from Jersey and Vermont flatlanders. You're a flatlander.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Really?
Well, that's what I call the middle part of Jersey, like New Brunswick. That's the Great Plains of New Jersey. It's flat there.
Yep.
It's middle Jersey, too.
Anybody want to get into a subject?
I'll start.
Cool.
Okay. So we all know about the British invasion. Anyone who's of a certain age or anywhere, if you've studied music, my kid knows it. He's 16. That was when the first wave of British bands came over and wiped the slate clean of rock and roll. And American rock and roll at that point, American white rock and roll, was in a bit of a doldrums. There's a lot of that singer-songwriter, teen idol stuff. Not to be too disparaging of that, because there were probably a few good songs here and there. But aside from Motown, which was saved American music at that point, the rock and roll market, that was ripe for the British invasion. The whole aspect of the Kennedy assassination. The whole
Now,
coming down. What?
How far into the '60s did like Fabian and were they strictly the '50s or were they into the '60s?
Late '50s into early '60s. I think '63 was I think we were talking about actually on our friend Scott McLean's website podcast Milk Crates and Turntables. We talked about Sugar Shack being the number one song of 1963. So at that point, it was a lot of stuff like that, and good folk music. Obviously, I mean Dylan was around. But like rock, it was prime for that wave, and Dylan, of course, was influenced by the Beatles, like everybody else.
Yep.
But when you think, when you guys think of the British invasion, what are the first bands that you think of?
I think of the Kinks,
The Stones,
and the Beatles,
Rolling Stones,
Jerry and the Pacemakers.
Yes.
Well, but you remember back in WNEW or PLJ, they have the British Invasion weekend, Beatles, Stones, Kinks, or Who, whatever. Yeah. But the Who really weren't a British invasion band in a lot of ways. They were, but they weren't. The Kinks also. The Kinks, they got stopped in 1965 where they couldn't tour in the United States for they were revoked.
How did that come to be?
They were banned for 4 years. Yeah.
Why?
They were too friggin' rowdy on stage. Dave Davies.
You're kidding.
No, it wasn't just the brothers. It was Dave Davies and Mick Avery. The drummer, never got along. There was some on-stage stuff like in Australia. So when they did it in America, the American Federation of Musicians said, forget this. I guess he was too disruptive. And it wasn't just Dave and Ray. Yeah. So they kind of shot them. It seems like they shot themselves in the foot. They don't talk about it. The Musicians Union doesn't talk about it.
And that's when they really, when they couldn't come here, they were like more and more English.
Well, they lost out on that chance to come here. 65.
That money they lost out on money.
That's year 2 of the invasion. So 65 up until 70 with Lola and stuff like that, they couldn't play. In England,
Do Do you think that they could have been like a bit like selling out the Garden? Had they been able to stay here,
Oh
they would
yeah.
have really
Oh
grown
yeah.
like
They're
that.
huge, huge. The
Really?
some of
Yeah.
the albums they put out during that period are great. I went through some of their. It's funny how we're talking about more latter day, or we're talking about the Kinks as opposed to the British invasion. But as long as
Hmm.
we're on the subject, they were briefly in the British invasion, but then they really weren't because they couldn't be part of that whole thing when all those other bands were touring the United States. So they did make some very English records, but they were a very English band. Going back to Dedicated Follower of Fashion, that's
Yeah. Yep.
British pop,
Yeah.
But they were. It was the two brothers, Ray and Dave Davies, Mick Avery on drums, Pete Quaife on bass. The bass player that chair changed a lot.
Well, that is a British name, man.
Oh
Quaife.
yeah, old Pete Quaife. But they so I hear all the hits that they played on. They were managed by produced by a guy named Shel Talmy. But You
Yeah.
Really Got Me. That was recorded in 2 takes. That's pretty cool. And they had to rent their own studio for that because the record company didn't want it. So their producer actually shelled out the money. They went to another studio and did it in 2 takes. It was the number one in England. I think it was number one in the United States too. International smash.
And
Really
did
Got
Dave
Me.
Davies? Did Dave Davies really cut his speaker on his amp?
Evidently, he
get-
did. Yeah. You get that distorted sound, and that's considered one of the prototypes of hard rock and heavy metal and garage rock. They were a great garage rock, like the Rascals. They wrote some great garage rock, but they also had some more sophisticated material. All Day and All of the Night. That's one of their earlier hits. Tired of Waiting for You. They were on Pi Records, and there were a lot of cool artists on Pi Records. Lonnie Donegan, The Searchers, The Brotherhood of Man. You remember the song Brotherhood of Man? Their big hit.
No.
You
What was
mentioned
the
it
song?
was United We Stand.
Divided we fall.
Yeah.
That's a great
Our
song.
backs against the wall. A Sunny Afternoon was another one. Blazing on a Sunny Afternoon.
Blazing on a sunny. Great song.
A dedicated follower of fashion. He's a dedicated, and these are very British sounding. And
Yeah.
very well. He commented on English culture and like a lot of class
Yep.
class
Is that one?
structure stuff.
Oh yes, he is. Oh yes, he
Yeah.
is.
Yep. A well-respected man.
Oh,
So
yeah.
conservatively.
Yep.
Till the end of the day. That's another one of those rockers. Till the end
Yeah.
of the day.
Yep.
Yeah.
The B side was covered by Van Halen. The B side is "Where Have All the Good Times Gone," which is a great song.
Yeah.
Really, Van Halen covered 2 Kinks songs.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they had hits
And-
with both.
Yeah, it hits both. Van Halen, great cover band. They did covers better than originals sometimes.
You've been saying that they should have done an album of covers.
Pure covers, a double album of pure covers. It would have been a
Diver
Somebody
Down.
could compile it. Yeah.
Diver
Yeah.
Down was basically a covers album.
Yeah, it kind of was, wasn't it? Yeah, good point.
Waterloo Sunset. You got that in there, right? That was
Yeah, well, it is. That's
my favorite.
that's going more toward the mid '60s. But
Yeah.
Sunny Afternoon, the B side of that was a great song. I'm Not Like Everybody Else. It's been used on commercials.
yeah,
It's been
that's
covered.
a great song.
It's a
yeah.
great song. In fact, Perry, that was on one of the early shows when we were on as Leo Kennedy and the Sharks on the Bill Kelly Teenage Wasteland show on WFMU.
Yeah.
That was on one of the set lists. The first time I heard it. Leo Kennedy and the Sharks is a fictitious name that me and Perry came up with when we recorded some stuff and got played on a radio station.
I had
WFMU, New
nothing to
Jersey.
do with that. That had
You had
nothing to do
everything.
with
You
that.
had everything
No,
to
I
do
did
with
not.
the first time. Yes, you did.
No, I did
Yes, you
not.
did.
You're the one who came up with it. All you did was
I wrote
ask me
the
to play
song.
bass. You asked me to play bass on it. That's all I did.
No, but it would not have gotten played on the radio unless you told me about that radio. Mark, do you know the story?
No, but I don't think it was
yeah,
Perry.
yeah.
It was La Perry Misterioso. That's what
I
was,
do.
yeah.
I do remember that it's called WFMU, and they had a songwriting contest.
Yeah.
And there was a little misinformation about what it was, So
Yes, there was.
So it was just about you could have submitted a song about
Right.
the station, I
Mm,
suppose. But
yeah.
in particular, there's a show called Teenage Wasteland that Lou and I really enjoyed listening to, and so Lou wrote a song called Teenage Wasteland WFMU. Like it's a great song.
It was a tribute.
And even Bill Kelly told you, well, I'm sorry, but you got the wrong impression or something,
Yeah,
right?
what there was another program called The Best Show on FMU. So you told me, you go, Lou, there's a contest about writing a song about the best show on FMU. I'm like, well, my favorite show is Teenage Wasteland. So we did this whole thing with that Wurlitzer, Oregon, that I inherited from the Zion Lutheran. That's on there. Steve Flood's first electric drum kit, and I played the guitars. You played bass on it, and I sang it. So Mark, so what happens? I sent it in, and then I thought, so I was going to end up in the dead letter office because I sent it to the wrong show. So one day I'm going hiking, and I'm driving up toward Nyack, and it's 3:00, so the show came on at 3, and Bill Kelly goes, and now, number one, for the first time, number one song of this week at the number one charts on Teenage Wasteland, Leo Kennedy and the Sharks, Teenage Wasteland. He starts playing the song. I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, he's playing it, you know?
Yeah.
So I pulled over in a parking
lot. Sorry, Lou, go ahead.
I pulled over in a parking lot, and there's these two kids sitting in a car. I said, put on, what are the call numbers? 91? I forgot.
91.1.
91.1. I said, I'm on the radio. And they're like, oh, cool. So I called Perry.
So Lou calls me up, and I hear him. He's running down the street screaming like what's her name in that thing you do.
Liv Ullmann, no. That was the Brian Wilson moment. That's when you heard yourself on the radio when you weren't expecting it.
Liv Tyler.
Liv Tyler, yeah.
You run into the appliance store, putting it on all the stereos.
Yeah.
No, but it was cool, like, you know.
But then he proceeded to play. He played several of the songs. But that was cool.
So yeah, but he at least appreciated the fact that you wrote a song about his show.
Yeah. Yep.
That's
cool. That
cool.
was
because he always played these like. The only show comparable to it now is the Steve Van Zandt. What is he called? What's his show called?
Underground Garage.
Underground Garage.
Bill Kelly has a show on Saturdays at like 11 at night where he did.
Yeah, his show was called Teenage Wasteland, but he'd play like obscure 45s from 1965. Out of a small town in Texas where it was only released regionally or something. Pretty cool.
1966 was his year. That's the benchmark for Bill's show. And things beyond that. He plays some modern stuff. But,
So sorry, I took that side note, but you were on the Kinks, Lou. So do you want to get back on track?
I mentioned I'm not like everybody else, so that was the lead into it. Okay, so like Mark said, Waterloo Sunset, my favorite Kinks song.
Me too.
1967, amazing song.
Yeah,
and it's been covered so well. One of your favorites, Perry, Victoria, came out in '69.
That was 1969, really?
Yeah, I thought that was the '70s. And then Lola, which has been played to death. It's a great song, but that's like the Maggie May. If I hear it again,
I don't need to hear that anymore.
Hey,
that's a great song, and it's interesting.
Didn't David Watts come out in the '60s? David Watts. David Watts, you know that tune? Wish I could be like David Watts.
Interesting.
Was that on the preservation? Were the Preservation Hall Society thing or not?
I think it's on Schoolboys in Disgrace.
Okay. Well, I don't know.
Interesting though.
I was listening more to the well-known singles, but that's.
But I understand that on the BBC, you cannot promote a product. So apparently, that song Lola had "Tastes Like Coca-Cola," and they couldn't play it because it. Yeah, absolutely, yep. So it may have been banned because it said Coca-Cola. Well, they may have changed it, but it was originally tasted like Coca-Cola, and they wouldn't play it on the BBC.
Cola. Yeah, it's
like
Coca-Cola.
Disco Lemonade.
Yeah.
That song's creepy.
Lola is there to them what Lucky Man is to Emerson, Lake and Palmer. It's like, don't want to hear it anymore. Just tired of it.
But it's interesting to me that sorry, Lou, that I remember listening to Milk Crate's Turntables, and they did a show on these siblings in the band, and like, what is it with these friggin' British brothers? Like they hate each other. Like I don't.
Oasis,
Oasis and the Davies brothers.
I can't stand that guy from Oasis either. By the way, the snotty
singer
lead singer
or Noel?
The singer. Come on, all right,
Yeah.
All right, you're a little snotty punk. I get it.
Yep.
You're 60.
Hold on.
But have you ever seen the Kinks?
Little wanker.
What's that? Anybody? Well, no, Mark, you've seen the Kinks, right?
For some reason, in my high school years, I saw them like 5 freaking times. Every time they came to the area.
Cool, man.
And they were like,
really?
And it's funny. I don't want to go ahead of where you are with the Kinks, but they got their revenge in that. Yeah, they lost the momentum with the U.S., but when they signed to Arista Records, they became an arena rock band, man. They put out some really good music.
Really? Because when I saw them in Asbury Park. It was 3,000 seats.
Well, so leading up to that point, Mark, I mean, going into the 70s, they had, remember the song Supersonic Rocket Ship?
Yes.
I can't hum it out, but if I heard it, you heard it on the radio, like, that's a
I may have heard it, yeah.
And then Celluloid Heroes was the big song.
That's a great song.
Because if you covered him in Garbage,
It wasn't big enough.
Don't step on Greta
It looks
Garbo.
like Lou may have froze.
Yeah,
Can you still hear us, Lou?
No, I think he's just resting.
Okay, but yeah, like I think I mentioned the other week that Celluloid Heroes, like he was disappointed that he thought that was going to be their
I don't blame
Imagine,
him.
or that was going to be their giant
Yeah,
hit.
and they're trying to reclaim momentum in the United States after losing it. And I would have thought it. Yeah, this record's going to be huge. Maybe it was too long. It's about a 6-minute song, so
Yeah.
But no, they have the most unique catalog of most British groups, like the Who. Yeah, the Who. I'm not knocking the Who; they're great and everything, but the Kinks went totally left field, totally right field. They actually got a little more normal when they became an arena rock band. They just became a great rock band.
Well, and also, the whatever, like the punks became. They love the Kinks.
Yeah,
they were just cool.
Yeah.
Lou was suspended in time, so I'm sure he'll be back. He'll relog in.
I think maybe the Kinks lawyer suspended him. I don't know.
So I listened to a few things.
Yeah.
I listened to an album I haven't listened to in a while. I had it, and it was Deep Purple. Who Do We Think We Are? And My Woman from Tokyo.
Great rock song.
I listened to it in the headphones. So we all know how it goes. But it was so cool in the sense that John Lord is in my right ear. Mm-hmm. Richie Blackmore's in my left ear. And so, when I listened to it when I was a kid, be it as I listened to it on my little cassette player or, on the stereo at somebody's house, but in the headphones, mostly it was, the Hammond organ with John Lord through the Marshall amp. Of course, that was his sound. But in the left channel, Richie Blackmore, wow, this guy was like the riffs, just the grooves he was playing while all this, and you know what I mean?
Bam, bam, boom, bam.
Yeah, but I mean, as the verses are happening, if you listen closely to what he's playing, it is really, really cool.
When you got John Lord as your keyboardist, you don't have to worry about banging out these bar chords like Pete Townsend had to do.
Yeah.
Blackmore was able to do some chicken picking in there and do interesting things, and John Lord was the meat. He was adding the heavy stuff. So.
Yeah, and who was? And do you ever hear a song called "Mary Long"?
Yeah.
How did you lose your virginity, Mary?
Mary Long was a conservative, I believe, like a media figure in England.
I think she was a journalist or something.
She preached morality. She was our equivalent of people today. So that Ian Gillan writes this song. He's saying, "How'd you lose your virginity?"
I love the melody he plays. It goes, Mary told Johnny not to write such trash. Says it wasn't worth the public money. That was very playful.
Yep. Now, when they did that album, they were basically broken up by then. Ian Gillan handed in his resignation.
Kidding.
Yeah,
really?
They didn't tour behind that album. They may have done a few shows.
This was after Made in Japan.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. It was the album after Made in Japan, and Blackmore and Ian Gillan just hated each other at that point.
And who's Martin Birch was still the producer? Was that him?
Yeah, and he also
records?
did Stormbringer. Yeah, and he also did Burn and Stormbringer too.
Yeah. I got to tell you, I was not a Deep Purple, although that song Burn.
Yeah.
Richie Blackmore, he is the riff master, man. I mean, whoa.
That's a great riff.
Think about that's a great riff.
Yeah.
And the whole song is built around that riff, right?
Yeah. And even that album is funny because I always found it fascinating that Richie Blackmore you do what he says. He controls everything, much to his detriment. How he lost control of the band it's weird that Coverdale and Glenn Hughes came in, and you could even hear it on Burn. The soul influence started coming in. By the time they did Stormbringer, that's basically a Blue-Eyed Soul album. And so
you're saying it's pretty much his band. He was the boss.
I don't want to say that.
They had the original lineup.
Yeah.
Right? With the other singer, Rod or something.
Yeah, I can't remember the names. But actually what I've heard is it was actually John Lord's band. He was kind of the guy that was in control. And right up till they did Concerto for a Group and Orchestra, which was a disaster by many people's estimations. I like the album, and I think that's when John Lord said, okay, let's get back to basics. So I think Blackmore really did take over, like the period with Ian Gillan. There was a power struggle between him and Ian Gillan.
Yeah. But
And-
interesting to me about these, like say the Doors, with Ray Manzarek, completely different keyboard sound.
Yeah.
And John Lord with the through the Marshall amp, that was his deal.
Yeah.
Who on earth plugs a friggin' Hammond organ into a Marshall amp, right?
Yeah.
And that's the Deep Purple sound.
You hear it at the beginning of Lazy. You can hear the Marshall sound.
Yep.
In that. It's like, shit, he's distorting his keyboards,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not a big enough fan of Keith Emerson to say, I mean, I've only heard a couple of Emerson, Lake and Palmer songs. Welcome back, my friends. It was pretty cool, but I don't know. I haven't heard enough of Keith Emerson to compare to.
So you had three
other
huge
guys.
keyboardists in the 70s from Britain. You had John Lord, you had Rick Wakeman, and you had Keith Emerson. Keith Emerson, to me, was the most jazzy, and that he could improvise. If you hear some of their live stuff, he was just stretching out. Their live version of Aquatarkus, 18 minutes of just noodling. Rick Wakeman was very classically trained. He was less of an improviser and more of a play it by the notes. And then John Lord was just his own thing. He never tried to be he never tried to be such a virtuoso. He was more of providing textures. That's his strength,
But what I noticed about those Deep Purple from like some of those songs, like "Woman from Tokyo," like the panning back and forth. John Lord's in this ear, Richie Blackmore. Then they reverse it. Then Richie Blackmore's in this ear, and John Lord's in those little playful things. Especially in 1973.
Three or
73?
two. Yeah. And also when you listen on headphones, you hear like the phasing on the cymbals and especially in the middle section.
Yeah.
And you got Ian Gillan with his high vocals. It's a really well mixed song.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. But I heard an album by Jeff Tweedy, Warm. I never heard it before.
When did it come out?
I don't know. I was listening to Spitify.
Wait, I'm the IT guy. I'm supposed to find that out.
Oh, it's 2019.
Oh, okay.
No, 2018.
Oh, recent.
I listened to a couple of songs like, wow. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it's Jeff Tweedy,
Yeah.
Hey, there's my Wilco mention.
Ding. I was listening to a Steve Wilson album the other day, Perry.
Oh.
This is all for you, Tom.
And who does Lou have to mention?
Albert Bouchard.
Albert Bouchard,
Wait,
Blue Oyster Cult.
I just mentioned him.
Fuck. I'm not a Blue Oyster Cult guy. Here's my thing. My thing is when I was a kid, I liked Kiss.
Yeah.
But when I listen to it now, it's like, I don't know, man. It's just, so I don't understand how, if you listen to Blue Oyster Cult when you were 12, does it really have the same effect on you now, 30 years later, or?
I think Blue Oyster Cult was your expectation. So when I was young, I always heard Blue Oyster Cult mixed in with Black Sabbath, dark. Like everyone said, oh, they're America's Black Sabbath. So when I started listening to them, I expected to hear Black Sabbath type music. It's not.
Yeah.
So aside from, I did like Some Enchanted Evening, but a lot of their stuff, I was like, ugh. Again,
what's Some Enchanted Evening? What's that?
That was a live
Some
album.
Enchanted Evening.
It's a live album they put out in 76. The reason I bought it, and I was down at Music Merchant, is it's got a great cover of Death with his scythe on a horse. Just go. It's a great cover. But, it's a lot of your expectations. You expect the band to sound a certain way. You get into them, and then it's not what I like. In the last, I'd say 6-7 years, I got them now. I got it. It's like you just have to get it. And I always said, you say, Lou, you just love this band. And Tom Spallone likes them too. He loves Blue Oyster Cult. Well, now I get where they're coming from. They're not Black Sabbath at all. They wrote some great pop songs, but they always had that dark mysticism underneath, which I like.
Maybe I just never had time for Blue Oyster Cult. To me, there was you're either into Blue Oyster Cult or Kiss. So when I was a kid, it was Kiss. But come on, I grew up too. By the time I think Bob Ezrin made that record Dynasty, I was like, I'm done with them already. I moved on. I like Neil Young now, or whatever. Yeah.
Remember high school? So when I was in high school, I was a metalhead. Everyone was metalhead. So it was either you like Judas Priest or Iron Maiden. And I was just firmly in the camp of Judas Priest. I used to fight with the Maiden fans. But knowing behind the scenes, I'm thinking, Maiden are really great. Now it's like, I like them both. But you get lumped in when you're in high school.
Well, what do you mean? Like a music clique?
Yeah. So I was considered a metalhead, yet I'd go home and I'd be listening to Purple Rain, or I'd be listening to Depeche Mode. Well, Depeche Mode was cool because when I was in high school, we had the beginnings, the earliest version of what you could call goths. People that
I had a bunch. There were a bunch of guys that I knew that they had the Bowie haircuts.
Mm.
I guess I don't know what it was. It was like the mullet, or the Bowie haircut.
Yeah.
And some of them would even dye their hair red, or or something.
Well, it's funny, so when I was in high school, the metalheads, there were certain bands that the metalheads liked. A lot of the metalheads liked REM, and they were nothing near, but there was something there. Like a lot of them listened to their early albums, and that's how I got into REM. I'm like, really? This metal guy likes. It's like I didn't get it. So
that's what's good. The good thing is that there's no telling, what can attract you to a band, or
Right.
when I was a kid, I used to read these magazines, Cream magazine or whatever they were, and like Slade. I love Slade, and I'm like, yeah, that's a blonde Telecaster. That's a black Telecaster with a blonde neck, and this guy's playing a Stratocaster. I thought I knew all that stuff.
Yeah.
But it was cool to me.
Yeah. You know what's sad? Like, you got those kids that you did go to school with that they liked one kind of music, and that was it. You went over their house, that's all they had. And then, they're in their 40s, and they're in their 40s and 50s, they're still just listening to that music. And it doesn't matter if it's metal, REM, Eric Clapton, just expand your horizons,
I remember one time in school, they're like, oh, there's a party over at, so-and-so's house, So we go over there, and they're up in the attic. So you go up in the attic, and all you hear is Pink Floyd playing, Dark Side of the Moon. And everyone's just sitting there. Nobody's saying a word, but they're so stoned out of their heads.
Yeah.
They're just getting into the Pink Floyd,
I used to listen when I first got into UFO. My sister I think she's your age. When did you graduate high school?
Last year.
Okay, all right. So now she's a lot older than you. I'm going to get killed for that one. So I mentioned her, Stace, when you were in high school, did anyone like UFO? And she's like, oh, yeah, that was the pot crowd. That was like, yeah, they got too stoned for me. It's a rock band, but I didn't,
I remember, back then, if you got a dime bag, it cost $10. That's what it was.
Yeah, I'll tell you that. But that's. I was always listening to different things. Nobody liked prog when I was in high school. There was one. My best friend actually was a big prog guy. A couple friends, but it was metal. So I'd go home. I'm listening to the Bee Gees, and then I would watch VH1 where Alice Cooper was saying, I didn't tell anybody, but in the 70s, I listened to the Bee Gees. They were great. And, it's like, yeah, it's unjustified.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that I listen to.
Speaking of REM, I have my REM Monster.
Nice.
REM Monster shirt.
Yeah. Talk about a heavy album. For them, that was good.
It was a great record.
I'm all slick tonight.
Toto.
I don't remember what show this was. Me and
Toto.
Tom. I think it was in New York City.
Lawsuits over Toto.
Oh, that's a sad story. Yeah, they're going to be back. Give it time. They'll be back.
Really?
Yeah. They'll work it out. I think something's being recorded right now,
I assume Lou's rebooting his computer, would you say? Yeah.
Yeah, I have this image of, you ever see Keith Emerson's Moog with the tall, with all the dials?
With all the buttons, all the switches, all the wires, like a telephone operator from 1965.
You think,
Yep.
The world of computers. If we were working on monologue.
I don't know, man. I know you guys, you and Tom Spallone love ELP. I knew, everybody I knew had those records. I just never got into. I wasn't into it that much. Like they had a record called Tookus, right?
Tarkus. Tookus. Oh, you sat on my Tookus. So yeah, you know what? When I was young, remember when you were young, you'd be like, "You don't like that band? You gotta like it." I'm like, "Hey, I don't expect anybody to like prog." And I listened to the Dead.
People were into Jethro Tull. I remember, big time. Everybody had those friggin' records. Vic is a Brick, and old Alkalung.
Tell you what, I think Toll, if you're going to go like what's prog in the 70s, Jethro Tull were more of a prog band than Emerson, Lake and Palmer, because Jethro Tull were very British. They were very similar to like I always say, Richard Thompson is probably very British. And so Emerson, Lake and Palmer would do blues jams, you know. Jethro Tull, very regimented. I've seen them a bunch of times too, and nothing changes. There's no improvisation. And Richie Blackmore himself said, you know, they're one of his favorite bands, but he said I couldn't play in them because I'd have to do the same thing every night. There's no improvisation with them. That's to me.
I remember like seeing cover bands, you know, at the school where they would, you know, somebody would sign a cover band, and this band, I don't even know what they were called, but they were so into Jethro Tull and doing everything the way it sounded on the record. So they would, what is that, Aqualung? And the guy on a stand, he had an acoustic guitar on the stand. Yeah. So he was the electric guitar player, and then when it came to that soft part, he'd flip his guitar over and come around and grab the Aqualung, my friend. Don't you start away. Like, wow, sounds like the freaking record, you know?
Yep. It's tough stuff to play. We tried to play Thick as a Brick in one of my bands. We just gave up. I mean, I'm not that talented. I'm more of improvising, you know, and you got to have the score in front of you and you're looking at it and stuff. But, well, I'll tell you what, I think Lou's coming back here. He's back.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends.
I've been gone for how long?
Lou, it's okay, man.
Lou, it's not. We did a PBS fundraiser while you were gone. We took phone calls, money.
Fuck me site.
We did a GoFundMe for your Wi-Fi. So we're gonna send you one new Wi-Fi unit.
Thanks. I blipped. I need a laptop.
Yeah.
Well, so I was talking to Mark about. We were talking about.
Hang on. We just to say we left at the Kinks, and that wasn't supposed to be the main thing I was going to talk about. I was going to talk about some British invasion bands that were not as well known, but we got on the Kinks thing, so that's cool. But
yeah. So
where did you guys leave off?
We were talking about English bands. So you want to keep rolling with where you were going to go after the Kinks?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'll be real quick because we were talking about Waterloo Sunset.
Hey, Mark, you don't have to rush, Lou. Come on, man. You're amongst friends, right?
I was gone for 5 years.
You're in a time warp.
The quantum realm is different than real time.
That's
right. You're in southern time. Yeah.
Well, mention Waterloo Sunset. I love that song, and I know Mark was one of your favorites. But that was '67. So I think where we kind of left off was on. Where's that? The big period of theirs. Oh, so they had a lull there in the '70s into the early '80s. Yeah. They put out some of the albums weren't so critically acclaimed. But anyway, but in 1977 they came out strong. Remember the song Sleepwalker?
Oh,
I'm a sleepwalker. I had the album. Yeah.
Oh, you did? Okay. Now some people said that sounded.
The album was called Sleepwalker, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was compared to Steve Miller Band, like Take the Money and Run.
Yeah, it's very similar, but
all right.
Yeah.
But that same year they had one of my favorites is Jukebox Music.
Yeah.
Only Jukebox Music.
Yep.
Only Jukebox Music. Yeah.
And I just love Jukebox.
Incidentally,
also that same year.
That was the first album they did for Clive Davis, Arista. So they went under Clive Davis's wing.
Okay.
You saw the change in the music. They started to get more just traditional rock and roll.
Yeah. Which is something, but they were being true to themselves. It wasn't them playing, hair metal or hair band stuff. It was basically, they always had that rock edge, but they kind of crystallized it. But the best rock and roll Christmas song, in my opinion, was Father Christmas.
That's what I was just going to say. When did they do Father Christmas? Give us some money.
77.
Wow.
77. Yeah. Also, that's at the dawn of the punk movement, too. And the song's about a bunch of punks anyway. It's about a bunch of little Christmas hooligans roughing up Santa Claus.
Yep.
And also there's some class warfare going on there, too. To the little rich boy.
Yeah.
A Rock and Roll Fantasy, 1978.
Was that
I'd have to hear it.
Was that Misfits, that album?
I don't know.
Rock and Roll Fantasy, I think it was on Misfits, because that's the song Misfits. I think they're both on the same album.
When I hear that, I think of Bad Company.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't too long off the mark. When did Bad Company Rock and Roll Fantasy? 79?
That was 79. So Misfits and Rock and Roll, that was 77. That song, Rock and Roll Fantasy, the lyrics are great. It just talks about a guy on my block who listens
There's a
to
guy
music.
he lives for rock. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's rock. Okay. Yeah, that's great. It's a pretty long song too, isn't it?
Yep, it's kind of like a
Longer.
Celluloid Heroes thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. In 1979, another trifecta. Wish I Could Fly Like Superman. Wish I Could Fly. That was them doing disco, wasn't it? Was that them doing disco?
But this is when they were like rebounding now, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're 4 hits into a streak right there. So they were definitely rebounding. Yeah.
I wanna be like Superman.
Yeah. And one that is very apropos to the current times: A Gallon of Gas.
Yes.
I can score you some Coke and some green high grass.
I don't remember hearing
buy
that.
a gallon of gas.
Yep.
It's a typical blues beat.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, on an album called Low Budget.
Low Budget, that's right, Mark.
Yeah.
That's right. That was also at the height of the whole malaise of the 70s, the ending of the Carter presidency. That was, the beginning of the new conservative movement in America.
And in
but
England,
we're going through inflation.
Yeah, and
I
what's
thought
happening
you
in
said
England.
that.
Yeah.
I'm on a low budget. Also, Catch Me Now I'm Falling.
Catch me now.
Clear something up for me. I'm not that smart with lyrics. That song was evidently very controversial for the lyrics. Now, I don't know what he's singing about. I believe he's singing it to America. Captain America.
Yeah. We're down on my knees. This is so I'm calling all citizens from all over the world. This is Captain America calling.
Yeah.
We bailed you out when you were down on our knees, and once you catch us, now we're falling.
Yeah.
I mean that's pretty, and it's true. It's true today too. That's come full circle. That whole now Ray Davies is known as one of the great outdoors, whatever that means. Like that's more than an author. Like with Pete Townsend of rock and roll. I mean the guy wrote really well. He was called a rock and roll ball sack, not a ball sack, but a ball sack.
Is that like Seymour Butts?
Pretty much.
Now
here come the 80s, and remember the song "Better Things"?
Yeah.
Love it.
It's
That's
a great
nice song. I like that song.
It is.
That was
sentiment, and then also Destroyer. Now, Destroyer 1981, that was the beginning of the ham-fisted era, the ham-fisted drum era.
Yeah. That's when I got into the Kinks.
Paranoia.
I was in 7th grade in Zion Lutheran, and we used to take our boom boxes to school, and I heard some 8th grader playing Destroyer, and I'm listening. I'm like, this is tough stuff. So I went out and I got that album. What an album. Very, very powerful. I mean, give the people what they want. They got a piece of the president's brain.
Mark, you're a renegade, man. Boom boxes in school?
Oh, we would all right. Well, just to divert real quick. So the big albums when I was in 7th and 8th grade was Give the People What They Want and Combat Rock from The Clash. And we would sit in that cafeteria, Perry, downstairs and blast. So you'd have the 8th graders at one table blasting their stuff. We're at the other table blasting. It was a great time. And nobody stopped us. They were like, cool, let it go.
And having the Clash and the Kinks on the same menu.
Yeah.
That shows you how I don't think the Kinks were ever derided by the punk movement. Were they ever considered the dinosaurs? I don't know because
no. I think the punks respected them the most.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, just by you really got those early power singles. Even with the Who also.
Yeah.
Whenever they came after, and the Who were great after that.
And the Attitude.
Those early power singles, man, you can't top that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, the biggest fan of Ray Davies was Paul Weller. Hold on, I just dropped another. For Tom. Paul Weller dropped. Yeah. So yeah, that was his biggest fan.
Oh, Lou, while you were off, I mentioned Jeff Tweedy, so I got my.
You did? Okay. What did you guys talk about?
And we mentioned Blue Oyster Cult because you had
Fuckers?
checked out temporarily.
How did you mention Blue Oyster Cult? In what context?
I was kind of making fun of him, so I'm sorry.
Wait, come on, talk to me. No, I want to hear this. Don't do this behind my back.
I was just saying that I was never a fan of Blue Oyster Cult. To me, it was like, you were Kiss or Blue Oyster Cult, and I was on the Kiss side, but I was saying to Mark that, if I listen to Kiss now, I'm like, it's not that good, man. It's just super compressed stuff. It doesn't have the same effect on me when I was 14 years old.
Okay. And that was Bob Ezrin?
Yeah. At this point.
There wasn't too much you could do with that band, was there?
No. I was, in fact, I said when Bob Ezrin produced that Destroyer record for them, which had, Detroit, Rock City, I was out of them. I was done with them by then.
Yeah. Well, at this point in the podcast tomorrow, Tom's going to be going, stop talking about Blue Oyster Cult for the love of God.
Hey, it's not easy. It's hard. I
The
don't have a
Blue Oyster Crap.
Oh, come on.
Oh, come on. I'm sorry.
All right, as long as you don't pick on
Blue Oyster
Zebra.
Cr-
If you pick on
Yeah,
Zebra,
no,
I'm
Blue
really
Oyster
going
Cr-
to...
Crank.
Lou, I said to Mark before while you were off, I said, I never had
He
time
doesn't
for
know,
them.
Mark.
I never had time for them. So I will learn when I will catch up to Blue Oyster Cult 40 years after the fact. And
Listen
I will,
to the first album.
Yes.
you've
first
been
album.
telling me that, and I haven't found the
Yeah.
time yet. But now that I have Spitify, maybe I will.
Yeah, you should. I mean,
Yeah.
First
I
album.
mean, it's 70s rock and roll, a lot of guitar, but they were lyrically they were cool. They were just different. It was just interesting.
Very
stuff.
mystical.
Anyway,
Mystical and
so
dark.
the Kinks, and we'll get out of there.
Yeah.
Not my favorite song, 1982, "Come Dancing." That's their music hall, English music hall.
Yeah.
I mean, the song's as catchy as all get out.
It was
but
a
it's just,
fun song. Yeah.
Yeah. They knocked on the pally.
But that album, I bought the album and it didn't hit me like give the people what they want. It was kind of like a little lighter. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and does that have also "Don't Forget to Dance"?
Yeah.
That's another one. That's another that kind of dance. Sentimental. Ray being sentimental.
Yeah.
When
but
was
then it has-
when she said "Come Dancing"? When was that? The 80s, like MTV time, right?
82,
84,
early,
5?
yeah.
Yep.
82.
Oh, 82. Okay.
82, yeah.
Yeah.
And
then
I
State
like
of
the
Confu-
keyboards.
they-
I like the keyboards on that song.
Yep.
Yep.
And then horns too,
Yeah.
yeah. Down by the Garden Gate. State of Confusion. I'm in a state of confusion.
Yeah.
Back to the Rock,
Yeah.
they do well. Do It Again, 1984. Great song.
Great
Go back and
song.
do it again, do it
That-
again.
And that was like their last big album. That's the years, like they were touring behind that. There's also another song off that album, Lou. It's Walking on a Thin Line.
Living on a Thin
Living
Line,
on a
sung
Thin-
by Dave.
Song. Great
Dave
song.
Davies lead vocal.
Yep.
Living in there was no England anymore.
He sang that old song about the clown, didn't he? Something about Tears of a Clown or
Death of a Clown. That
Death
was
of
a
a
solo
Clown?
single, yeah.
Oh wow, okay.
But Living on a
you mean
Thin Line.
that was a solo?
Yeah. But Living on a Thin Line made a great appearance in The Sopranos. It really was.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right. It did. Okay. So how about this? Lesser known British invasion band. Lesser known. Pages. Some people know Herman's Hermits. They were in there, but that's all part of the Mersey Beats thing. But they had a lot of hits. Herman's Hermits. But
They
people
never
think of
wrote
the main
any,
four.
but they interpreted.
No,
Yeah.
no. Mrs. Brown, Henry VIII.
Mrs. Brown, you've got.
I'm into something good. Yeah, I'm into something good. That's a good song. Their version of Silhouettes is really good.
Well, how does that go? They did that,
Silhouettes
really?
Yeah.
Yeah, Peter knew now. He's only 40 now.
He's only 40 now, and
Yeah,
he's
because
on,
he was like
on
6 when they had those
right.
records.
He has a 60s show called Something Good with Peter Noon on XM.
Yeah.
So he's still so's Peter Asher. Peter Asher at the Beatles show.
I like Peter Asher. I just heard him
speaking of which,
on a podcast.
Oh, he's great. Peter and Gordon, they're next. Peter Asher was the brother of Jane Asher, who was Paul McCartney's girlfriend during the height of the whole Beatlemania thing. So him and Gordon Waller, Waller, they had their own hit. They had a #1 hit with Paul McCartney's "World Without Love."
Yeah.
And do you know why John Lennon thought that song was so funny? The first lines are, "Please lock me away."
Yeah, and
So,
and
apparently-
I recently heard Peter Asher interviewed on, I think it was, I don't know if it was Gilbert Gottfried's podcast or Mark Maron, but anyway, he had said that John hated that friggin' song, hated it. So, Paul would present it to him going,
Beatles wouldn't do
please
it.
lock me away. He goes, that's it, done, lock the song up. We're not doing it. And so Peter Asher came to Paul and said, Paul, can we do this? And can you write a middle 8 for it, by the way, too? And he did. Yeah. Yep.
Baby, it's a very melodic. It's McCartney's song.
Yeah, but it's
they
not
also-
it's not Beatles material.
No. They covered Del Shannon's "I Go to Pieces." I go to pieces, it's a pretty song.
Oh, that was a Del Shannon song, really?
Evidently.
That's a nice
Del
song.
Shannon,
I go to peace. Yeah, I like that song. Yeah,
he was almost a Wilbury.
it was almost a traveling dingleberry.
Yeah. They don't travel. They stay. They're Klingons. Anywho, now they also did "To Know You Is to Love You." Do you know who? You know you is to. You know who wrote that?
Jackie
was surprised.
Duchenne. I don't know.
Producer of the era extraordinaire, giant, a titan, a colossus.
Okay, hold on. American.
Oh yeah. I mean, the big
What's
guy
the
in the
song?
early 60s.
Let me have a guess. The song is
him is to love you, and my breath away. Then
Knowledge. What is it, man?
Phil Spector.
Wow.
Wrote it
Murderous
by himself.
son of a bitch.
Wrote it by himself.
It said Phil. If it's said Phil Spector on the article I read.
Well, he's a dead son of a bitch now, isn't he?
He died in prison. Oh well.
Did he really write it, or is he being like Hesh? You know?
Yeah, I think not. He didn't have to.
He could write a song. He could write a song.
But
my dad's friend Ed Chalpin was.
But we can still discuss Phil Spector and say, wow, he did some great work.
He was a genius. He was a genius.
Right.
He was a nut job, nutty genius. But I will say, River Deep Mountain High is not a good song.
It is not a good song.
I don't think it is.
Not, in fact, it's a bad melody too. A bad melody.
It's a bad. Perry, you're right. I mean,
yep.
People seem shocked that was the beginning of the Wall of Sound. But I heard that. I'm like, I'm not a big fan of Tina Turner's voice either. Nothing against her personally or as an artist, but that song just didn't do it for me.
That was the decline of Phil Spector's. The golden era was ending right there
until the Beatles and George Harrison, all things must pass. That was probably his
end of the century.
Right. Okay, so they did a song. They did a song called "Woman" by McCartney, who went by the name of Bernard Webb on this one for some reason. Paul used the nom de plural, Bernie Webb, and they covered "True Love Ways" by Buddy Holly. But Peter Asher went on to produce Linda Ronstadt, Neil Diamond, and 10,000 Maniacs. What was their big hit? Like the Weather?
Cool.
10,000 Maniacs.
Because
like the weather.
Yeah.
And that was Peter Asher.
There was a guy named Buck in the band too, right?
Rob Buck.
Rob Buck, yeah. He
and Jerry Augustiniak, who they made wear a wig because he was bald. That's bullshit. When you're a hair band, you're alternative band. It's not supposed to matter. Anyway.
Well,
there's nothing wrong with hair, guys. Hair's good. Come on.
Fuck you. Whatever. Okay, so how about this one? One of my favorites of that era was and Jerry and the Pacemakers. They were part of the Mersey Sound. They wrote a lot of Jerry Marsden.
They were the Mersey Sounds, yeah.
Yeah, and I think he had a really great voice.
What were some of their hits?
Okay.
Ferry Across the Mersey. Don't let the sun catch you, friend.
Cross the Mersey.
Yeah.
Listen, that's a nice song, yeah.
You guys know I'm a Liverpool fan, so say it, Lou.
Okay.
What's
don't
their
let the sun.
You'll never walk alone.
You never walk. Okay.
Yeah,
that's Liverpool.
Is that on my list? It wasn't on my list. I don't know how that goes.
Oh, it's great. I'll email it. It's this day at the start of every Liverpool game, the whole stadium sings the song. They play it over the PA, and 80,000 people sing it. It's a great song. Oh, God.
Cool. Yeah. Don't let the sun catch you crying. That's the other thing. The other one was the Dave Clark Five, who had more hits than anybody. The Dave Clark has more appearances on the Ed Sullivan Show than any other band, apparently.
Now, they had some really nice upbeat songs. Like
they did.
The Pieces, Bits. Is that them?
Bits and Pieces. Catch Us If You Can. That was also the name of they did a movie. They had a Dave Clark 5 movie. It was called Catch Us If You Can.
Really?
Glad all over. Yes, I'm in.
Oh, yeah.
Having a wild weekend.
And great drumming.
Yeah, real heavy, but it was good, though. He stomped a lot. Because was more of their lighter fare. And I think the keyboard player sang that.
Yeah.
Can't you see that she's mine? What was the big
Is that the one that goes, can't you see that she's mine? That's them? That's Dave Clark 5.
For a long, long time. And I will stay. We will stay. Never will love me.
You got your echo.
All
you got
the time.
Your cousin Brucey echo. Right?
And I'm feeling. There we go. Yes, but they had a huge amount of hits. But Dave Clark was a drummer. I think him and one of the other guys, keyboard player, wrote the material. He went on to become a businessman. So also Petula Clark, 15 top 10 hits. Downtown, I Know a Place, Sign of the Times, Don't Sleep in the Subway, Darling.
Oh yeah.
But this one's more obscure. Billy J. Kramer and the Dakotas.
Yeah,
managed by Brian Epstein. The J
name?
came about because John Lennon said you should add something in the middle there. So Lennon suggested these letter J. They had Bad to Me, which I think is a Lennon McCartney song.
It is the Lennon McCartney song, yeah.
I'll Keep You Satisfied and From a Window, which I don't know those songs were also Lennon McCartney.
Me neither.
The biggest hit was Little Children. Little Children, written by Mort Schumann and somebody else.
Those Brill Building guys.
Yeah, and one of my favorites are the Searchers. their British Invasion. They toured well into the 70s. Needles and Pins, they did. Jack
Pins,
Nietzsche,
yeah.
Needles and Pins, and Sonny Bono. What Have They Done to the Rain? Don't Throw Your Love Away. Sweet for My Sweet, Sugar and Spice. When You Walk in the Room, the Jackie DeShannon song that's been covered by everybody.
Yep.
Great song. Don't Throw Your Love Away. And they did a version of Love Potion #9 that was done by the Clovers originally. But they have a little footnote in history. Right after the Beatles hit in that February, they were tied with the Swingin' Blue Jeans about having a hit. The first English bands that have hits right after the Beatles had that top of the market thing.
Wow.
So the Swingin' Blue Jeans had a hit covered with a Hippie Hippie Shake.
Now, you mentioned just before, you just mentioned the song, the group, the Clovers. Elvis Costello wasn't in a group called that band, was he?
That was Clover.
That was Clover, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was the News minus Huey Lewis, but yeah, Clover. The Clovers said, I took my troubles down to Madame Lou. The gypsy with the gold cap tooth. And so then after that, so the Searchers, they had the 80s versions too. That you gave me a Searchers album that has nothing to do with who they are. They did a version of Switchbox Susan. I don't know.
Yeah.
And, also, Dusty Springfield was considered a British Invasion female singer, and she was amazing. She was the best of the best. In a lot of ways.
She was great. Yeah.
I Only Want to Be With You. She had hits with that. The Look of Love, the Bacharach David song. Is that a Bond movie? Yeah, or a movie. Son of a Preacher Man, of course, 1968. She's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Stay a while.
Wait, so Dusty Springfield, she did. I only want to. Like, who else recorded?
I Only Want to Be With You. Yep.
Yeah, it was recorded by a few people that made it famous, right? I just want to be with you.
Yeah.
Well, it was like Sean Cassidy or Leif Garrett or somebody like that, right?
Leif Garrett. Yeah,
pop star stuff.
Lesser talented pop idol.
Tiger Beat magazine kind of stuff.
Yeah. She also did You Don't Have to Say You Love Me. You don't have to say you love me.
Yep.
Hey,
Wishing
guys,
and Hoping.
Guys, I Only Want to Be
Bucks
With You
watching
was covered by my favorite band, Hootie and the Blowfish, and it was also covered by the Bay City Rollers.
It was the Bay City Rollers, yeah.
The Bay City Rollers.
Yeah, yep.
Charlie, put on the Bay City Rollers.
How about Nick Lowe? Roller Show. Gonna see the Rollers. Got a ticket for the Bay City Rollers. That's a Nick Lowe.
Really?
Nick Lowe had a song, yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Was it a parody?
The song's called Roller Show, yeah.
Okay. So Dusty also had Wishing and Hoping. Now, she had a late 80s hit with the Pet Shop Boys. What Have I Done to Deserve This? What have I done to deserve this? Scott McLean knows this one because he was a big Pet Shop Boys fan.
We got to throw Pet Shop Boys into that thing.
And we should thank Scott McLean of Milk Crates and Turntables for having us on.
Absolutely.
Perry should be there next time.
If anyone listening to this show likes what we do, Milk Crates is just like that. If you just like to hear people sitting around talking about music who have an unhealthy affection for all music, listen to that show as well. Milk Crates and Turntables.
And also, I saw his The King of Facebook. Facebook one where he ate a peanut butter and mayonnaise.
KOFD.
I missed it.
He's got the Mazzola margarine crown on too, so it's great. So she's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. She was inducted 2 weeks after her death. She died of breast cancer. Elton John inducted her and said she was the greatest white singer ever. Also, and this is one too, I never knew they were English. Manfred Mann. I thought they were American.
No, Manfred Mann.
No, they're English, yeah.
Well, no, their early hits are great. Do Wah Diddy, that was written by Jeff Barry and Ellie Greenwich.
Yeah, that's
Sha-la-la.
Yeah.
Klaus Vormann played with them at one point.
He joined them in like '68, I think.
He did, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Was he on that? Was he on that? So was he in the Earth Band?
If you go up on these video services, you can see Klaus Vormann playing bass, lip syncing on some of these shows.
They were a big influence on Bruce Springsteen.
I was going to say, the reason you think they're American is because they covered "Blinded by the Light."
Yeah, well, that was the Manfred Mann's Earth Band, and that was one. I think it's actually early on, Mark. I think maybe before you joined, that was on one of my lists of worst covers of all time, in my opinion. I never liked it.
Is it wrapped up like a? I'm not going to say
a douche.
it.
Yeah, douche. It's douche. Come on, man.
Wrapped Bad choice of lyrics.
But what it did was it goes, he says douche. Did you hear what he said? Douche.
In 1977,
you got to listen to this. You got to listen to this.
Yeah. You were allowed 2 hells and 3 dams on television back then.
I remember a friend of mine called me up on the phone and he goes, "You got to turn on Channel 9. There's this guy screaming at people." And it was Morton Downey Jr., like screaming at people.
All right. The big yeah. That was the beginning of the Western civilization. Anyway, so then there's also, we'll wrap this up, Chad and Jeremy. They had some hits. A summer song that was mentioned on the summer songs last week.
Yep.
So apparently they were on a couple TV shows. They were on Batman, the Batman TV show with Adam West.
Really?
I'd like to see that. Yeah. Dick Van Dyke, they did an appearance on the Patty Duke show. Another one is lesser known, maybe Cilla Black. She was the Brian Epstein protege, but she had two songs.
I think George Harrison had liked her. Yeah.
Okay. Well, she did Alfie. What's it all about, Alfie? And
really?
If anyone
so
had a heart.
So did Dionne Warwick.
Okay. I think if anyone had a heart was Dionne Warwick too, but also this one's kind of goofy. Freddie and the Dreamers from Manchester. They had that song. They had the dance craze to Freddie. Do the Freddie.
I thought they were American. Wow.
Kind of goofy stuff, but the Freddie was written by Doc Pomus.
Really?
Doc Pomus was?
We're brill building people. Yeah.
Doc Pomus, Mort Schumann, they wrote a ton of those classic songs. So if we can just go to Doc Pomus for a second, this is just a lowdown. His name's Jerome Solon Felder. His brother was Raoul Felder, the famous lawyer. But the songs that he wrote, Young Blood, with Lieber and Stoller.
Young Blood. Yep.
A Teenager in Love, Biggie. Save the Last Dance for Me, Biggie. This Magic Moment. Is that Jay Black?
Great song.
This tragic moment.
And this one,
very big one.
Turn Me Loose, Fabian. Fabiano Framatelli. Whatever.
Yeah. That's
and
part
also
of the Italo Rock segment, right?
Yeah, yes, it was. Sweets for My Sweet was covered by the Searchers. Little Sister, one of my favorite Elvis songs. That's a great song. That is a great song. Yeah. He wrote another one, Suspicion. Terry something. You know the song Suspicion? Suspicion. Yeah, great song. And also another great Elvis song, Marie's the Name of His Latest Flame. Dun, 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 dun. Marie's the Name of His Latest Flame. Dun. Yeah. So just a great songwriter, but lumped in with that. But that was the British invasion. Not talking about the Beatles, the Stones. But the Kinks, they got their own thing. They were in their own world, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like you said, Lou, is the little band that could have but didn't, but then they did it later on, Yeah.
But they kind of got banned for being a bunch of punk asses. Though.
Yeah.
That's rock and that's pretty rock and roll.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
So I listened to a mono version of the Beach Boys, I Get Around, in mono. And it's so much better at times in mono. It's like the way you remember it when you were a kid.
The way Brian can hear it.
Yeah, I guess one speaker. Yep.
Mary whacked him up the head one too many times and deafened him.
That's too bad.
A sick fucker.
Making him,
use on a paper plate, the whole thing.
Paper plate. Yeah. I told you a story about that.
Then there's also the taking out of the glass eye and rolling it on a table.
Oh, boy.
I had a friend of my stepfather's had a glass eye, and one 4th of July, he got drunk, and Anthony and I were young, and we're at a table. His nickname was Soxy, what that means. He took out that glass eye, and it was like, no, that was a horror movie. It was sick. Fuck.
But I also heard a song that you commented on, Lou, is "Got to Get You Into My Life" by the Beatles. And you said you didn't like the drum sound. That. You didn't like the drum sound, or you didn't like the horn sound, or something.
No. It was the drums. The way the drums were recorded, the tom toms. Ringo's doing some great fills. They're completely lost in the mix.
See, when I listened to it, I had the headphones on, and I'm like, I remember you commenting on it, but I'm like, well, it sounds very Motown-like. So in other words, the drums did sound Motown-like, as did the horns.
It's you know what, the whole arrangement and the mix. It gives me anxiety. It's like I shouldn't be not liking a Beatles song, but it's like the one song from them. It's hard for me to listen to.
Yeah, I think it's just, I don't get it, and that was a reissue in 1976. Yeah. So, I mean, did George Martin have anything? Did they have any control of that? Was that just Capital EMI or Apple, whoever was in charge of the business at that point?
No. I think they just decided it was just too much horns. I think for the song.
Well, what sounds great about it is that guitar break.
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, that's the Beatles. The vocal is great.
Yep.
My only problem is I'll have to listen next time I hear it for the horns, but it's not the snare drum, the bass drum. It's just and I don't know. I've never listened with the headphones, so I don't know if the drums. They sometimes they move them over to one side or another.
Yeah.
But for some reason, those tom toms got lost.
Yeah.
So
It's
I
just
listened to
choppy.
something else, Lou, in deference to you. I listen to and I listen closely with headphones to 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover, Steve Gadd on drums.
Yeah.
And wow, this guy, wow, man. And what gets me about it is it's a light production. There's not very much going on.
No.
In other words, Steve Gadd
the vocals
is
light.
very light. There's very little instrumentation. Yeah. There's a little electric piano or something and maybe some strumming. But Steve Gadd, he's like, it's almost a lead instrument in there with that steady thing going all the way through.
How many notable drum intros are there, really?
True.
And that's one where it's not just an intro. Like, if you think about a Badlands, if like Bruce Springsteen, bit-da-boom, boom, bit-da-boom, that's a drum intro, but it's very short. This is a whole integrated. And if you see him play, I do a bastardized version of it. I was playing the guitar bar one time, and before we were playing, I'm like, I want to see if I can pull this. So I did this. I call it a bastardized version. Steve Gadd would be like, stop. And Mark the owner goes, don't spoil them. I said, I'm not, I said, I'm faking this. And it sounded kind of real, but he's doing things with his left hand on the hi that you wouldn't normally do with being a right hand.
But also the way it was recorded, it's just so perfect. The placement of the drums throughout the track.
Yeah.
You hear it perfectly. I mean, it's one of the lead instruments in the whole song. Is that steady,
What album was it? That was that big album. Was it?
I don't know what
that
album
wasn't
it
there.
is.
Still crazy after all these years.
Yeah.
That's the album. I wonder who produced that, because if you like Paul Simon, when you think about production, I mean, he's not a powerhouse singer. The problem is it's almost a whispered vocal, so you don't have the drums over that.
Yep.
It's just everything is in its place. It's not in your face.
Well, that's what I mean. It's a very small production.
Yeah. Steve Gadd's work is amazing. I mean, a lot of it was just jazz fusion stuff that I never heard.
Is he still alive?
Yeah. As far as rock, I mean, he's the drummer on the song "Asia" by Steely Dan. He's on the album, but that's him on the drums on that song. And that's
how does Asia go? How does that one go? I am not a Steely Dan fan, but I've heard it. Yeah.
You've heard it.
Yeah. You've heard it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Asia, where my dreams come and
that's Steve Gadd as well, right?
But it's got this instrumental break where the drums, he's just doing these wacky triplet fills and stuff. But I mean,
yeah.
I mean, it was jazz. I mean, I'll call that jazz rock, but I mean, that was something.
50 Ways to Leave Your Lover. 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover came out in 1975. It was produced by Paul Simon and Phil Ramone.
Phil Ramone of Billy Joel fame.
Yeah.
Oh.
And that
who played bass
by Julian Lennon. Phil Ramone produced that, I believe. Right?
That's right, he did. Yeah. I guess Julian was a big Billy Joel fan, I think.
Well, on that song, Tony Levin plays bass guitar. I didn't know that. And Patty Austin on bass. Yeah, and Patty Austin, Valerie Simpson, and Phoebe Snow sing backup.
Are the background singers?
Yeah.
Wow. And in fact, that was. I'm glad you mentioned who they were, because the background vocal is like it's a very small production, but everything was placed perfectly.
Yeah.
Perfectly. So it was Phil Ramone, you said, right?
Yep.
And also fitting well with the mid-'70s mellow.
Let me tell you, thumbs up Phil Ramone, man.
Yeah.
Thumbs up for that one.
Even if you're not a Billy Joel fan, some of the stuff. I heard Allentown the other day. I don't Phil Ramone produced
That's the only Billy Joel song I really like. It's my
favorite
song. It's my favorite Billy Joel song.
Yeah. The musical structure is great. The break part with the guitar, it builds.
Yeah, it's a pop song. It's a great pop song. Yeah.
Like when it comes to Billy Joel, I love to say I can't stand him. I'm sick of him. But then when Billy Joel albums come on, I listen to them. Like The Stranger. I used to say I'm sick of that album. It's a great album.
It's a good record.
Hey, I used to have Billy Joel records back then. I had Turnstiles. I had those kind of records or whatever. But I just gave them up. Like after that, it's like, I don't know, man. It was there's something about it. But Allentown, well, we're living here in Allentown.
Yeah.
Pulling all the coke from the ground.
Our friend Sot Mitter is a big Billy Joel fan.
Yeah.
Except for the what's the album that has Uptown Girl on it? Is that an Innocent Man?
Yeah,
I don't know.
That was a tough album to swallow because he just he had the classic '70s Billy Joel, and all of a sudden he does that album, and it's like,
Wait, yeah, you had rock and roll Billy Joel with Glass Houses.
Yeah,
now that's got some good songs on it.
Does.
Doing all for Lena.
Yeah,
Sleeping with the Television on.
Yep.
I mean, that's for Billy Joel. Like, he's not a rocker, but those are some rocking songs.
Yeah, yeah.
Like even like a diehard fan like Scott Miller goes with Innocent Man, he goes, I can't even consider that an album of his.
He had a great drummer though, Liberty DeVito.
Liberty DeVito,
for that guy.
It's Liberty Bibberty DeVito.
I remember he did an HBO concert from Nassau Coliseum, and that was like, I was young. I was like a teenager, and I'm like, that was one of my like, holy shit, this guy Liberty, he's a monster. Yeah, he was just great.
Yep.
And Captain Jack, that song, and I always get the title wrong. The one AD.
Don't need to hear that anymore, or Piano Man. Don't need to hear.
Oh, what's the one about seeing the lights go out on Broadway?
Yeah,
Liberty tears it up on that, man.
That was a live hit. His hit version, that was a live version.
The Songs from the Attic album.
80.
Yeah, that's a good album. Yeah.
He had a good song where "What's the matter with the world?" and then they see the addicts at a time. That's a good one.
He's great. He's got that other side too. It's the one song it's on Glass Houses. All your waiters in your French motel, whatever.
You may be right.
Don't ask me why.
Don't ask me why. Yeah, you may be right.
There's that part of him. It's that song is on the French Riviera, but he's a musical guy. Keyboard players are like that.
The only song I didn't like from him, the one where he really totally mimicked Bruce Springsteen. 1, 2, 1,
Matter
2,
of Trust.
3. Oh, he had the Telecaster. I was like, come on.
He's playing guitar like him. He's
punching his chords.
Yeah.
With that when you go 1,
but he was influenced
2,
by Bruce.
1, 2, 3. You go tra la 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 la. Let's live for 2. You can do it. And that's a cover too, right?
Is that the Grassroots?
But they're not the original ones. They're not the original ones. Mark can find out who it is. The Grassroots are not the original ones. I think an English group may have done it first.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Well, the Grassroots weren't a real band. They were one that was put together.
They were one. Yeah. They were put together, right?
Who knew? Morty Schumann.
Yeah.
Human to Human.
So I was talking to Mark the other day about Mark. We were talking about Rod Stewart.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And I think I was asking you about Rod. They covered a Motown song. Which one was? What was the Motown song that Rod Stewart and the Faces covered?
I'm losing you. I know I'm losing you.
I'm losing you. That's an old Motown. Yeah. That's a Motown song or something, right?
It was written by Norman Whitfield, Eddie Holland, and Cornelius Grant, and that band was
The Temptations.
Yeah.
No.
Wait, Norman Whitfield. Eddie Holland.
Norman Whitfield was. I don't know if he was in a band, but he was a house songwriter at Motown.
Yeah.
Whitfield and Barrett Strong wrote a lot of songs.
I believe it's Temptations. We're getting laughed at right now by people. It's one of those Motown songs you just may not remember the band.
But didn't the Temptations do that version that we're talking about?
They did it originally.
Either the Temptations,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, great.
No, I think Rob with the Faces. I mean, that was good, but I don't know. He's kind of.
Well, they wrote some songs too. They wrote some of those, like "In the Morning," "Please Don't Say You Love Me."
Stay with me.
That's "Stay with Me." That was written by. Was that written by them, Mark?
It was Ron Wood and Rod Stewart, and
it was written by Woody and Rod Stewart.
Yeah. I am a big Rod Stewart fan. When I was a kid, I didn't like many different bands. I was big on ELP, but I always liked Rod Stewart albums. He's great. I don't know. And he didn't write many of his songs, but the ones he wrote were big.
I remember seeing him live, playing live.
Ballad of Georgie.
"Stay with Me" live, and Ron Wood was doing a slide guitar, and wow, I think he was open tuned, by the way, too.
Yeah.
I don't know what key he was in, but it was open tuning also.
It's funny when he was with the Faces.
Did he write "You Wear It Well"?
You know what?
You wear it well.
He might.
It's a good song.
That's a great song.
Early in his career, he wrote a lot more of his songs. Later in his career, he became more of a interpreter. Cat Stevens, First Cousin Davis, all that.
Did he write "Hot Legs"? That was him and Carmen Appice.
Yeah, no, that's Steve.
Honey.
Yeah.
But there's the one you mentioned, the Ballad of Georgie, right?
Yeah.
Oh, Georgie, don't let me down, Georgie.
And
That's a pretty controversial and brave song considering writing about a gay man.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
Yeah. It's a great song. And Rod Stewart wrote that himself. So it's funny, he interprets a lot of songs. His First Cut is the Deepest was a huge hit, and I didn't know Cat Stevens wrote it. And
Cat Stevens, yeah. Yep.
And a bunch of his songs. But then, Rod wrote some really good songs in there, you know?
Oh, I like Every Picture Tells a Story.
So how?
Yeah.
What was the song goes? My clothes they stunk, but I kept my funk.
Yeah. That's Every Picture Tells a Story, I think.
Every Picture,
yeah. And him and
is that Kenny Jones on drums?
Good question.
I think this might be Kenny Jones.
That's the great Kenny Jones. Every picture tells a story, don't it?
Nope.
No?
Mick Waller.
Was this the Faces or was this Rod Stewart solo?
Rod Stewart.
When Mick Waller came to my house.
Well, so here's the deal. When he was with the Faces, he was doing his solo albums. Pretty much most of the Faces were on the albums. Like Ron Wood was on every one of those albums. But he also had so Mickey Waller played drums on a bunch of his albums. And he's on that whole album. Every Picture Tells a Story. Yep. I should remember because I have the original album where it's got all the pictures of the guys, you know. But yeah, Ron Wood was the only guy from the Faces on that album. But he had, Lou, you'll know this, you know, Pete Sears, he was in Starship later.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he was on Every Picture Tells a Story. Kind of interesting.
Is he a bassist?
No, piano.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just funny how the music, that's a totally English album, you know?
So that was not the Faces. That was just Rod Stewart.
Yeah.
Every Picture Tells a Story.
Probably.
And you know why they call themselves Small Faces?
Yeah. Because they were all like 5'4".
They're really short. That's told the Billy Idol's band. I saw them with the giant hair. I was like 10 feet taller than all of them.
I think Kenny Jones was the tallest one in the band at like 5'6", I think.
I think Lynn Johns in his autobiography, he had something to say about their height too when he produced them.
Kenny Jones was not the best drummer for the Who, Perry.
No, I never said that he was. I said
yes,
for those.
You did.
I did not. I said for Face Dances, the pop album, he was perfect for it. I love that record. I love Face Dances. I love that record.
Good night, mate. I like the video for that.
Well, that was from a different record.
It was like a puppet claymation video, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah. I think my favorite.
I heard Slit Skirts.
Slit Skirts, good song.
Yeah,
what a great song.
Yeah,
that's Mark Brzezicki and Tony, someone from Big Country. That was his rhythm section on that song. Slit Skirts.
Well, I'll say my favorite Who drummer.
Recriminations fester from a place between her legs.
No comment.
My favorite.
It's me who has to beg.
My favorite Who drummer behind Zach Sarkey, I think he fit him so well, was Simon Phillips, but then Toto Stone.
Yeah.
He was great with the band.
When Simon Phillips first started playing with Pete, I'm like, this guy.
Yeah.
Simon Townsend.
He had everything Moon had, but he had much more
control. Yeah.
Yeah, control.
Pete Townsend's brother, Simon Townsend. He's been in a few things, right?
Jail. Rehab?
He pretty much, he's playing with the Who right now. He's part of the band.
Simon Townsend?
I think he is, yeah. Yeah, he's on guitar, yeah.
So on the Rod Stewart thing, so they wrote Woody. I remember Mick Jagger. Mick Jagger was really, Rod Stewart was really bugged that, Mick stole Woody from me.
Mm-hmm.
He used to say that all the time. They took Woody from me. They stole Woody.
The best friends.
Well, would you join the Rolling Stones?
Interestingly.
I don't know. That's a good question.
I remember reading a story with Jeff Beck, and
Back
he
then,
said,
probably no.
Jeff Beck was saying he was at a party, and he knew Keith Richards and Mick Jagger were going to ask him to join the Stones. He said, I was so scared. I did not want to join the Stones. When you join the Stones, you're in a corporation. It's a total,
Yeah. You have to become a drug addict.
No. You have to become a drug addict, but not be a drug addict. I swear a lot of those stories, it's just.
Yeah,
they're healthier than we think, I think.
Now, is Woody, is he still not a incorporated Stone at this point? Or
they made him.
He's a made man now, right?
Yeah. Also, he had to clean up. I read his
Really?
autobiography, and this guy, through his life, he goes broke constantly. He can't manage his money.
I read that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the last time, like, he really went broke, and he came to the guys in the Stones. And he said, "Can you just lend me money?" And I think that's when Mick said, "We got this guy. He needs us." So they told him, "You got to clean up. You got to get sober," because he was really just screwed up. And then he's clean now because he doesn't want to lose that gig.
You're right. I've read this where, like, and Woody would have a house with a recording studio, and everybody would come over, friends would come over, and they'd record their albums there. Then he'd lose the house, and he did it again. And he had a house with a studio in it, lost the house.
And It's Only Rock and Roll, But I Like It was actually recorded at Ron Wood's home studio, but Mick Taylor was on guitar in that song. Yeah. It's just,
cool.
he's so many times he's going up, he's got it all, and then boom. Hopefully he's he's on track.
Oh yeah, I'm sure now.
I think at this time, yeah. I mean,
yeah, you hope.
But, So his first record with them was Some Girls, right?
Well, he was on. They had the album Black and Blue, which was basically only the Stones would do this. They make an album.
On it or something.
They auditioned guitarist on Black and Blue, so there's a bunch of different guitar players, and he was on a couple songs. And then after this is the Stones, we put out an album, and they go, "Okay, we like Ron Wood, we'll invite him." So Some Girls.
And there's these great records like "Give Me Some Neck," like a Ron Wood solo record. Yeah, it might sell 100,000 copies, whatever. It doesn't matter, but these are great little records.
"Give Me Some Neck" is a scary good album. It's one of my favorites. He's got Bill Wyman on a bunch of songs. Charlie Watts. Here's my problem with the album. It's produced by Roy Thomas Baker. Only Roy Thomas Baker could make Charlie Watts sound like eggs on a wall.
No, really? No.
Lou, listen to the album. It's like mega compressed.
What's it called again?
It's called "Give Me Some Neck." It's a great album.
It's a great Ron Wood record. Yep. Woody,
but on the songs Charlie Watts is on, he sounds like eggs on a wall.
Did Roy Thomas Baker produce Blue Oyster Cult?
No. Not at all. No.
Come on, I love you guys. I love Blue Oyster Cult.
Albert Bouchard.
I think Blue Oyster Cult's best producer was Martin Birch.
Yes.
Whoa, Mark and I just spoke about that when you were off the air. He was Deep Purple's
produced the last two great VOC records.
Cultosaurus Erectus.
And Fire of Honor, yeah.
No, those I want to hear. Those I want to hear, yeah.
Yeah, Fire of Honor, those are the last two with the classic lineup.
Yeah.
And I realized Alan Lanier, he played on horses. He was dating Patti Smith at the time. So Alan Lanier of Blue Oyster Cult's on horses. He's got a co-write on a couple songs, and so that's a member of BOC on it. That's fucking cool.
Yeah. Sorry, Tom.
Martin Birch is known for drum sounds, and the drums on Cultosaurus and Fire of an Origin sound so cool. They're they're EQ'd so well.
Yeah. And then Martin Birch, he went on.
And we just can't help it. I'm getting a cowbell, by the way, guys. we're gonna have a live fucking cowbell.
Lou?
All right, Tom Spallone, that's for you.
I'm waiting to see Tom Spallone come up behind Lou right now and grab him. No more BOC. And somehow he gets up here.
Martin Birch, I mean, he got those Ian Pace drum sounds, right?
Yeah. Oh man, another great drummer.
Now, did he produce like Machine Head and that stuff?
He produced Machine Head, and I believe Who Do We Think We Are, the follow-up. Yeah, My Woman from Tokyo.
Yep. The drums sound great.
And here's something interesting.
Yeah. Now, My Woman from Tokyo, it's funny because the hi-hat in that break there, that is some amazing. That's
absolutely, absolutely.
He's just playing the hi at the end. The time is so perfect.
I listened to it yesterday. Yeah.
Is it okay? Yep. I'm a ladder appreciator of. I like them going along, but listening deeper, I'm like, those songs, they were great.
Well, here's the thing.
He's a great guitar player. I mean, I've been saying this the last couple of times, but I think he's great. I was never a thing of purple and black.
He's a riff meister.
Well,
great sound.
If you listen to any song off Machine Head on headphones, listen to Lazy, listen to Pictures from Home, you'll hear Martin Birch. That album was recorded in the hotel in winter when it was closed. You can hear Ian Pace, like his drums were down at the end of a hallway, and they mic'd it, and you'll hear it.
Well, that was the Smoke on the Water thing.
Yeah.
That the place burned down that they were going to record at.
But the drums have such an ambience. It sounds like it's literally, you hear the hotel,
Yep.
Great, yeah. But Martin Birch, he's known for all this hard rock, but he also produced early Fleetwood Mac albums when they were in that transitionary phase with Bob Welch. He produced a couple of those albums too.
Well, this shows like these most of those producers, back to them, their musical scope, the fact they can produce things from blues to jazz, to classical.
Yeah.
I'm going to catch up. I'm going to catch
Bill
up.
Simzik.
Yeah, your neighbor.
Bill Simzik. Okay. Yeah, my neighbor. He produced a lot of B.B. King. He did a lot of blues albums before rock and roll with Joe Walsh and James Gang, but he produced a lot of B.B. King records. And,
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But he's the guy that's not a musician. That's what's fascinating about him is that he was an engineer, but he must have an ear. I mean, he must have a record collection. He's probably an appreciator.
Neither is Martin Birch. Martin Birch was purely an engineer. And then it's funny, like when he was getting a little older, not old, but older, after doing Boys to Cult, he discovered Iron Maiden, took these guys under his wing, and he did all their big albums in the 80s. So he was always known as the big heavy metal producer. It's what works for you. He did a great job with it.
Here's the zeitgeist is that you were saying before, Peter Asher, he's the guy that got James Taylor signed to Apple Records.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Brendan O'Brien, you know him as a producer?
Yeah.
He produced Bruce Springsteen and Mastodon.
You're kidding. You're kidding.
And no, I saw Bill Brondeller's father the other day. We talk all the time about music, and when they were first doing those records, he goes, Brendan O'Brien is producing my son's latest record. I said, the guy produced Bruce, produced the Rising amongst others.
Yeah.
He goes, yeah, and Mastodon also worked with a guy that did some hip hop stuff. I don't know his name, but so a guy that did hip hop records went and produced like a heavy metal band. But Mark, you don't call them progressive metal though.
Yeah, they're a little heavier than progressive. Progressive metal can be very heavy.
There's some psychedelic elements in there at times.
Well, let me say,
yeah.
Brendan O'Brien also produced Jimmy Page and Robert Plant's only studio album together after they did Unleaded. So Brendan O'Brien's produced some big names. I mean,
what do you mean, like the Honey Drippers? He was producing them.
The Honey Drippers,
right? Didn't they have a little band together?
Was that Page?
That was
Page played on that, but he wasn't in the whole record, right?
Yeah, Jeff Beck was on.
I don't know.
Page.
Yeah, that's right.
It was a Robert Plant thing. Am I having trouble with my headphones, Lou? I can see you pointing at your headphones.
But no, I said these guys have ears.
Oh,
like Brendan O'Brien.
I had a flashback to when I was a monitor mix guy for someone, and they're like, the guys on stage going like this. I'm like, I can't.
But 2 weeks ago at the Spiritual Center, in the middle of a song, my drums cut out. I'm setting up flares behind the kid. I was going to start hurling drumsticks across the auditorium. But I'm like, and she could hear there's no drum, and she's staring at me at this now. I'm like, nothing, So anyway, sometimes the hand signals don't work at all. Flailing away.
So, I'm a train guy. I like trains.
Yeah.
So I was watching a documentary on, they have this high-speed corridor. You get from New York to Boston in a matter of like 2 hours or whatever. So there was a Swedish company that had a train that they, Amtrak was going to use for this high-speed rail. Swedish company came in and brought in a train that they were going to do test runs on. And a German company came in as well and brought a train and that they were going to do testing in certain regions for this high-speed thing. And so they're testing it, and they're great trains, and Amtrak has a seller now. But they said one thing, they wanted feedback. And they said, well, here's the feedback, is that Americans don't like to face each other on trains. So in Europe, apparently, they all the seats face each other. They said Americans don't like that. So the American trains are all back to back to back, and you talk to people, you make friends, but you're looking over the top. But that's a funny thing about the European trains. Like Americans do not like to look at each other. Like there's not 4 seats facing each other. Americans don't like that.
Yeah, I knew someone that took.
I like going to coffee shops and just staring at people.
Well, you're in the South,
I'm not looking.
that.
There's no laptop, no phone. I'm just staring at people during the coffee.
You're in the South, and I was telling people, when I go down to visit Lou, like people just wave at you. How you doing? They don't know you. Up here, how you doing? What's so good about it?
Yeah. Now, when they do that to me, I'm still from New Jersey. Like, fuck you.
Wow.
No, when you're driving, this is when they raise their finger, that means hello. I'm like,
My Blue Heaven with Steve
No.
Martin. You know, he walks to the
That's right.
supermarket, right? Like, how you
Have a
doing?
nice day.
Fuck you.
It's a great day for a mo.
I spent 3 weeks in Portland, Oregon. Same thing. Everyone out there is friendly. You walk down in Portland, downtown the city. Hi.
Vomit everywhere.
So I come back and I walk down to get my paper here in Pearl River, and I see a lady walking down. I said, "Morning." She looked at me like I was going to like mug her or something. I'm like, "Oh boy, yeah, that's New York for you."
That's the way you said it.
Yeah.
Well, I went into Tennessee on a road trip with a coworker, and we stopped at a gas station. And so we got our snacks, and the accent was so thick. What she ended up saying was, "You all come back and see us again." And I went, "What'd you say?" And the way she leaped, she almost right back. When as soon as I said, I'm like, "Oh, I suck." I'm like, my friend goes, "He's from New York." Yeah, not all assholes.
If that was in New York, she
just
would
the way
have said,
it came out.
Yeah, because the way she would have said in New York, she would have said, "I don't want you coming back in my store." You hear?
Yeah. I mean, put a shirt on. I mean, she was being nice, but I was just like.
But I just thought that was weird that the European, they brought the European chains over here to testing in America, and we don't like to look at each other when we're sitting on trains.
I know a guy that toured Europe on trains, met him, and he said that. He said, you get on a train, and you got the guy facing you, and he had some great conversations. But he's like, yeah, it was like the first time it happened. He's like, here's some guy, I don't know, I'm up in Norway. The guy spoke English. He's talking to me, It's like, yeah, not in America. Everybody wants to be like on their phone.
Yeah.
They want to be.
Yeah. But that was pretty cool. So, the Rod Stewart thing.
That's pretty fun.
What's that?
And that's funny though. Like we don't want to interact with pleasantries.
I want to look at the back of the seat in front of me. If
They,
that's what I want.
In my world,
Yeah.
So anyway. Hey, you know what?
When I was in England, like I would go for walks, and you could start talking to people, even like a street corner conversation.
Yeah.
Now it's just so suspicious and guarded, But
you know what?
We're more comfortable looking through this than we are,
I'll tell you what I like about where I live is that there are a lot of people that come right over from Ireland, and they will talk to you. Someone from Ireland will just you could talk to them first thing in the morning. You'll have a 40-minute conversation. We've lost that. We don't talk to people, and it's good for the mind. It's good for the brain.
Isn't that weird?
We talk at people. I know. So I'm going to say it's where I work sometimes. It's like all broadcast, no reception. I'll blast out on you, and they'll be like, "Okay, got to go." There's no even exchange or a shared experience.
Yeah,
broadcasting.
Yeah, isn't that weird? That people from Ireland, their destination is Pearl River, New York, for some reason.
It's a bunch, but you got Boston for some reason. But it's funny,
You got to know where to go,
Yeah, the Hoboken of the Hudson, Pearl River.
That's why my family ended up in Elizabeth.
My grandfather came from
go?
Ireland and moved to Long Island. Go figure.
Really?
Yeah, weird. So it's all crazy. Hey, can I mention something to you guys?
Of course you can.
So I'm thumbing through my vinyl. I have so much vinyl. People gave me their record collections over the years. So this week I'm thumbing through, and I had a Mott the Hoople album. Now, not everyone has video, but this is what the cover is. And I'm like, what album is that? So
Mark is holding up a Mott the Hoople album.
Yeah.
That's Emerson, Lake and Palmer took us.
Well, I found out it's their debut album. So I'm like, I got their debut album. Now, I don't know much about Mott the Hoople. I know all the young dudes, all the way to Memphis, Ian Hunter. I put this album on.
Mick Ralphs from Bad Company was a guitar player.
On the first few albums,
yeah.
So I put the album on, and it's weird. It starts with an instrumental version of "You Really Got Me" from the Kinks. No vocals. Mick Ralphs is doing the melodies on his guitar. And I'm like, this is strange. A debut album with that. And then it moves into a song by Doug Somm. Do you guys know Doug Somm and the...
No, I don't. Who is he?
Sir Douglas Quintet.
Did he write Sir Douglas Mendocino?
Oh, really?
Yeah,
really?
Tex-Mex guy.
Wow.
The Sir Douglas Quintet were a four-piece, ironically.
In the 60s, yeah. Yeah. So anyway, the album, it's weird. It starts with 3 songs. They do You Really Got Me, At the Crossroads by the Sir Douglas Quintet. Then they go into a Sonny Bono song, Laugh at Me, which I didn't know. And it's great. And then when Ian starts to sing, Ian Hunter, thank you. He sounds like he's totally channeling Bob Dylan. His voice is like, but it's really good. And I was like, this is a fucking great album. I really liked it. And I got my guitar out. I'm playing along with it. The second side has like an 11-minute song that just, it's almost progressive. They were a totally different band when they started. They were not glam yet. And I kind of checked into them. They weren't doing
What do you mean
good.
you got your guitar out and started playing along with it?
That 11-minute
You're one of
song.
those people? Are you one of those people?
Yeah, I am.
He's got ears.
You know what I mean? Like,
but you know what? I'll never play guitar while a podcaster's talking. Scott mentioned that.
but let me tell you. So I think I've told Lou this story. Like when I was a kid, we used to hang around Jewel Street, and there was a little recording studio over here. And these guys used to rehearse. They used to rehearse their whole time. They were a band. I don't even know what they were called. But anyway, the day ZZ Top Fandango came out, the first song, Nasty Dogs and Funky Kings, right? Those guys listened to it once, and they invited us in. And I kid you not, they listened to it once, and they went, do-do-do-do-do. Like, I don't understand people like that. I don't get it, man. You're one of those guys, Mark.
No, I have to work at it. It depends what I'm playing, but like some songs follow typical chord progression, E to A to B, you know.
Yeah.
Then you got other songs where you got those weird chords. Then you got those songs where, I'll never be able to play along with Paul Simon because he's got like 50,000 fucking chords in the songs, you know. But
and different tunings too.
Yeah. But no, I just pick up the guitar and that's why I became a Dead fan, only because try to play along with the Dead, try to play along with Jerry Garcia. It's not easy. With the Mata Hoople, I learned some new chord structures. So I'm playing this 11-minute song. It's called Half Moon Bay, and I encourage you guys to look it up on YouTube. It's got a couple movements.
Why don't you play it right now? Because YouTube will get shut it down.
Ian Hunter's at the door. Hello.
We can't do that anymore anyway. Are we done with that?
We can look.
No, you can play. You can, if you have your phone here, you can put the phone up to the microphone and play a few seconds of something. If we're discussing,
a few seconds.
Yeah.
But
I think 15 seconds.
Well, I'll tell you what.
I don't know.
What I found out is that they were not a glam band; they were just a rock band, and they were not successful. And they were about to break up. It's David Bowie that kept them together because he liked them. And when they were about to break up, he said, "I give you all the young dudes." He produced that album. So,
it's the song that they were really known for, right?
Yeah.
I never liked it. I don't like that song.
Really?
No, I don't like the sound of it.
I got to tell you, a lot is one of those things where, like, you're hanging out, and a lot of people had Mata Hoople records all the way from Memphis, right?
Yeah.
And it's funny that album.
Did they do Cleveland Rocks, or was that Ian Hunter solo?
I think it's Ian Hunter solo. Yeah, he quit them, and Mata Hoople continued on with another singer, and they had Ariel Bender on guitar. That guy, I'm sure you've heard that name. But they were called Mott for a while, and I didn't like the stuff when they went glam. I tried to listen to the whole album with All the Way from Memphis. It just wasn't my favorite.
I think on an old show that Lou and I did, we were doing. We should do it again, Lou. Is these silly band names, these ridiculous band names, and I chose Mata Hoople as one of those silly band names.
Do you know who Ian Hunter ended up writing songs with?
No.
Blue Oyster Cult.
No.
Come on, Lou. You know I'm only having fun with the Blue Oyster Cult.
I know.
I'm gonna catch up. Yeah.
You ready, guys? Hey, guys.
And I want.
You really got me.
Wow. Who's doing the little? That's Mick Ralph's doing the vocal on the guitar.
So their debut album opened up in 1970 with an instrumental version of "You Really Got Me." That's balls.
Wow.
Yeah. And they literally, Ian Hunter joined them I think a month prior to recording the album, so he was like an unknown. So yeah. So I like that album. I like it better than the later stuff. Very, check it out.
You remember his maybe only MTV hit? Or he had a video in rotation.
Who?
Ian Hunter.
No.
All of the good ones are taken.
How does that go?
All of the good ones are taken in my song. Come now.
No,
I
don't.
Good ones are taken. Ooh.
Really?
Yeah. Tim saying he's in a rowboat by himself.
Looking like Don Imus.
Or the mannequin or something. with Fredo.
Wow, that was interesting. Mata Hoople. So,
Yeah, I
what
love
else
this
is
album.
on that record? Like,
well, you know, when you think about like album bands that you thought were popping or prog, the more I hear Alan Parsons songs in the radio, I'm like they're quite prog.
Alan,
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
you know what? We don't have enough time. I'll go off. We'll do an Alan
I
Parsons.
shouldn't have
I know,
mentioned Alan
yeah.
Parsons to Mark.
Listen,
Next time,
Mark, what record label were Mata Hoople on?
well, they were on
Polydor.
Atlantic on their first albums. I believe they may have jumped ship later on, but the first few albums were on Atlantic. The song off this album,
maybe
that a lot of
Columbia.
well, the song off this album that a lot of people know is called "Rock and Roll Queen." I didn't know it, but evidently a lot of
I remember hearing that. Yeah, how does that go?
Well, we could do 15 seconds of it.
Yeah, you could.
It's almost like you could have done it in the glam era and it would have worked. It was like the one song that sounded.
Well, that was the glam era, wasn't it?
Yeah. So, Rock and Roll Queen. Rock. How do you spell rock and roll?
I don't know. R&R.
Either R-C-K-N.
No.
There's either an N or an and.
No, that's R&R is that's MASH. Yeah, here it is.
Rock and roll.
Actually, Mick Rouse said it sounds a lot like bitch.
Yeah. So there's a good thing about music back then was the riff. The riff was everything.
Ian Hunter said
the
in an
riff
interview,
was the song.
Yeah, and he said in an interview, he claimed that the Rolling Stones ripped them off with that song. But it's a very basic bluesy riff. Yeah, I don't think they ripped them off,
We've had, we should do this again since we're on we're on a different format now about these borrowed riffs and all those kind of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we've got to redo a lot of those shows. Call them Redux. Apocalypse Now Redux.
Redux, yeah. Just bring us the board back. Just bring us the board.
What a
do you
plantation.
guys remember? You remember this band?
What band?
This band. Right? Maybe a one-hit wonder, but kind of novelty. I'm going to fast forward a little bit.
Yes.
I'm Handsome Dick Manitoba.
Is that like novelty song?
Kind of, yeah. The band was Blotto.
Yes.
Blotto.
Yeah.
B-L-O-T-T-O.
What was
Lifeguard. I want to be a lifeguard.
Yeah.
Help.
Yeah.
That was played on the first day MTV aired. That's when the first videos
Really?
aired. Yeah, the first day of broadcasting. So Video Killed the Radio Star were on it.
Uh-huh.
Blotto and whoever else, but that's it's pretty funny because they were an interesting band. Like they were kind of goofy and stuff, but
yeah. What about
they had
where were they from?
They're from upstate New York somewhere. I thought they were from Boston, but they're from upstate New York. But they definitely had a cult following. The lyrics were kind of humorous. They have a song called Metalhead. I saw the video. It's pretty hysterical. And then this guitar solo comes on. I'm like, who is that playing guitar? It's Buck Dharma from Blue Oyster Cult.
Really?
He's in the video. Yeah.
Wow, cool.
I guess someone he knew liked them and said, "You got to hear this band." So
he mentored someone. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's got a little comical piece.
So that was like a semi hit. What about just like a roly poly fish heads? Eat them up, yum.
Bill Mooney.
Who?
From Lost in Space. That was Bill Mooney from Lost in Space.
You got to be kidding me.
No, that was
Will
MTV.
Robinson?
Yeah. Run! Warning! Stay away from Dr. Smith, young Will Robinson.
Oh dear!
You have to get
Will.
you have to get the ducting from the back of the dryer on your arms and start. That was really Billy Mooney.
Bill Mooney, yeah, and he had a partner.
Really? Wow.
that was when MTV was wide open. Now, you remember the first song contest they had? The winner?
No.
I put it on my face. It's called Dog Police. Dog. It's these detectives with like dog makeup on, but it's pretty cool looking. It's really weird. It's kind of dark at times. but it
Now
was
I
called
heard that
Dog Police.
the late Michael Nesmith of the Monkees was one of the like founders of MTV, or like he had
I heard that
Elephant
too.
Parts. He
Yeah.
was right. He had a show called Elephant Parts, which was pre
Yeah.
MTV, working with video and things like that. And
Yeah.
Todd Rundgren was another one, really into the
Yeah.
Into
video in
video
the early
beforehand.
days, right?
Yeah. Remember Utopia? Remember that drum set with the Willie Wilcox, whoever the drummer was?
Yeah.
It was like one of those bicycles when you see someone on the bicycle where they're almost laying down, their legs. It's got to be right. That makes my neck hurt watching that. But the drum set was like that, where he's sitting on the ground. It's like he's in like a drag car thing, and he's like the pedals were at the end, like it was like a go kart. I mean, it's pretty ahead of its time. It was freaking weird, but it was a lot of electric,
I can't believe that I just said that, and you said it was Billy Mooney from Lost in
MTV
Space.
Dog Police. Yeah, no. Will Robinson. I don't know if you guys can see this. This is the Dog Police picture.
Show it. I can't see it. Oh, there you go.
Wait, let me see.
Wow, they look like the.
It's almost Planet of the Apes like.
They kind of look like Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
It's from 1983. It's the weirdest damn thing. Anyway, Dog Police. That's MTV it's all. I mean, does this still exist? It's like full reality. I'm 16 and pregnant, or whatever these things are called.
Well, I guess in the early days, yeah, it was. Wow, strange. Never heard it.
Lou, what the hell? I just searched it.
You have the Dog
Underneath,
Police
look at that
record?
guy. Look at that picture underneath. What the hell is going on with this Dog Police stuff?
That's hard to see.
They had a sense of humor. That's really what it was, right?
Yeah, they did.
Yep.
And they had some money to spend on that video because they actually, I think the mouths moved a little bit. When they're Dog Police.
Well,
Yeah, I guess it was more creative in those early days, right? Before it became
was a
too
young medium,
slick.
yeah.
Apparently it got slick. Where like I said, they could make it look like I Can Dance. With the slick editing and all that.
Well, if you look at the early ones, even like America had a #1 hit with Magic. 1982.
You can do, and you said who wrote that song? You said there was a.
Is that Russ Ballard maybe, or I think
You mentioned
I think so.
recently that
I
it
think
was
it's
written
Russ
by
Ballard.
somebody you wouldn't think that.
But the video is hysterical if you see it. It's videotape. Videotape tells the truth.
It was actual videotape. Yeah.
Yeah. And even that band that I mentioned a lot, that someone says that I mentioned too much, they had an early MTV video with the song Joan Crawford, DOC. And it could have been done by any one of us. In fact, Albert Bouchard has a snare drum he's faking. It's like they did this video in 30 seconds.
Albert
So
Bouchard.
he's playing the whole thing on a snare drum, like on a stand at a swimming pool. But, I mean, I think going into the mid-'80s, that's when, this is the format now. And Peter Gabriel made some gains with it. But
Well, Lou, you have
do you
to
remember the
recommend
Loverboy?
Joan Crawford was one of
Loverboy, did you say?
Loverboy's Hot Girls in Love videos. And that's one of the Beavis and Butthead. That's one of the funniest videos ever made. The drummer's playing the thing with gas pumps in his hands.
Well, Lou, you have to
really
recommend that Bluish Occult record to me that Martin Birch produced.
Well, there's
Okay,
two.
there's two, but those are the last two records with the classical lineup.
So,
Well, you know what?
I think you should hear their first record.
I'm going to give. All right, so this is what I'll do. I'll listen to the first record.
listen to
Then
the
I'll
first
come
record.
back. I'll come back and we'll discuss it because you guys are fans, and I like to poke fun at them, but I respect.
When you
all
when you
these
hear
things,
the
so-
first album, forget all this talk about the Don't Fear the Reaper Bluish Occult. Think of it as like a band from New York, almost punky, very raw.
Well, I
And
know a
think
lot
you will
about
like
them.
it.
I know that they're from
Yeah.
Long Island and all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. You
Yeah.
know, I learned a lot about them from Lou, knowing Lou for since the 1980s or something.
In the 80s, man.
Yeah.
Mark, did you ever go to a club called My Father's Place in Roslyn, Long Island?
No, but my sister went there a lot. I heard a lot about that place.
It's famous. The owner of it, his name was something Epi Epstein or something, whatever his name was. he refused to have cover bands. If you played there, you had to have original material.
Cool.
So
Yeah.
it was a haven for a lot of those regional. Springsteen played there a lot.
Kind of like CBGB, right? You know,
like CBGB, yeah. But a bigger,
shit,
yeah.
But you could use the bathroom, I think, at my father's place. Blue Oyster Cult played there. Billy Joel. I mean, like a lot of people.
I got fireworks going off. So if I'm looking off to the right, I'm not.
I got him here
on
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, my father's place. My father's place. I heard. I was not old enough, I don't think, to go there. Young. I was too young to go there, but I heard about it from many people. One of the best places. Yeah.
I never went to Long Island for a show. I never went to Nassau Coliseum.
I went to Long Island to see Zebra constantly. I would go to Sundance in Bayshore, and I would go. We went out to CPIs, and let me tell you something. Long Island, they know how to drink.
Well, because of the fireworks, Lou, you mentioned Nassau Coliseum. I think I told you I went to see Steve Miller Band there, and
okay.
And people were throwing M80s from the upper deck.
That's right.
And well, there's that zeitgeist with the fireworks, you know. And Steve Miller said, "We're going to walk right off if you people don't stop it. Somebody's going to get hurt."
Yeah,
he said, "Let us handle the special effects. You just enjoy the music."
Actually, isn't Jones Beach and Jones Beach is Long Island?
Yep, that's
I have no
beautiful.
I was there.
Because that's the stage is out over the water, and it's
like Apocalypse Now.
You're on the it is like that.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. I saw Emerson, Lake and Palmer out there. You got the ocean breeze coming in.
Well,
but
that was one of the best venues. I saw Dr. John, the Neville Brothers, and John Fogerty. It was a great show.
Damn, you saw the New Orleans thing, and
it was
the guy who everybody thought was from the Bayou, right?
Yeah, but wasn't Bakersfield.
Yeah,
I saw
I was there with the lights. I said, "This is like that scene in the USO scene in Apocalypse Now."
You see the helicopter.
I'm here, baby. Here, baby.
I saw Neville Brothers at Woodstock in Saugerties '94. What a great! They are great live.
They were great.
Yeah.
You know who was the best? Dr. John was the best.
Mac Rebenak.
And Mac, in my opinion, he was the best.
Is he gone? Is
and
he
they were all
he died.
amazing. No, he died.
Mac died. Yeah. Oh wow.
Yeah, not too long ago, a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Well, I hope he lived to be a really old man.
He was in his 70s, you know.
That's not too old, man. That's too young. Yeah.
But it's that life. That life takes a lot of life away from you.
Yep.
Yeah.
I got an old song by Dr. John. It's called, you know, your steak ain't no hipper than my pork chop, you know? You know, it's kind of he's a blue-collar guy.
Don't forget that Dr. John gave ELP the title Brain Cell Surgery. If you listen, it's in what must have been the right place, must have been the wrong time. Yep.
That's right.
Yeah. Yep. I was in the right place. Yep.
My favorite Dr. John song is the one he did on the Les Paul, Such a Night.
Which song?
I don't do it. Somebody, such a night. Dun, 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 dun. I like that New Orleans song. I've heard some Fats Domino. I've been listening to some 50s music. 50s channel for some weirders, but a lot of Fats Domino. He was great.
Anyone from New Orleans, doesn't matter what kind of music they do, there's a mystical quality to it. There's a couple jazz guys from New Orleans. Just knowing they're from New Orleans is something different. It's just something in the way they play. There's
the feel of the land. There's the feel of you can smell the air.
That's what Bob Dylan said.
The music's humid.
There's a certain smell, you know.
Yeah.
And it goes into hard rock because Zebra come from New Orleans, and they got a little of that in there too. You know, you hear it in their music. You know,
Dylan.
Song goes. Taking my time. Oh,
Dylan.
Tell me where you are.
Daniel Lanois had a house set up for Bob Dylan to record in, and down there he recorded an album with Daniel Lanois producing.
Yeah.
What was the album though? Mercy.
Out of Time.
No Mercy.
Was that Out of Time?
I think it might have been. I think it might have been the Mercy. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it was. Yeah.
I thought Daniel Lanois.
But he would say like Bob Dylan would walk in,
maybe that,
you know, because Bob would show up at any time, you know, and Daniel Lanois ready, and Bob Dylan would come in and like, oh, Aaron Neville's there, he's going to sing with you, like, you know, like it's New Orleans, man, you know.
Yeah.
And Dylan would take off on a motorcycle and just, you know, clear his head or whatever.
I read the actually you gave it to me. It was Bob Dylan's Chronicles. I think he did too. Is the first one, and I was living in Park Ridge not long before we moved to North Carolina. And I was reading the part. It ends with this last part of the book is about it recording in New Orleans with Daniel Lanois, and his description of the feel of the city, of the whole feel of the place.
Smell, yeah, yep.
And I remember I was talking to Kara. I said, we got to go to New Orleans. The next day was Katrina hit. Right after, it was the next day. I read that book. The next day, got blessed. We're not going there for a while.
Yeah,
but I've never seen Streetcar Named Desire.
Yeah.
Even that movie captures the feel. It's hot. You can tell they're all. It's just sticky. You can just feel the humidity. It's just Angel Heart. You've seen Angel Heart, right?
Yeah, what a great movie. Lost.
What a great movie.
Yeah.
It really is. It's underrated. I mean, it's a great movie. Mickey Rourke that's some of his best stuff. But it's the same thing. It's just you want to take your shirt off when you watch that.
Double Jeopardy too, I think.
Robert De Niro is the devil. Can you get better than that?
Interesting thing, New Orleans too. There's no graves in the ground. They're all in mausoleums because of the floods.
They'll wash away.
Yeah.
You know what? A very similar city. If you ever read the book Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, that's Savannah, Georgia. Kind of similar there.
Yeah.
Dark
feel. That was now. Perry and I we did a road trip with Tom Griffin. We had planned on spending a day in Savannah, but we didn't get to do that.
I want to see Savannah.
No, we had to escape from Savannah. We spent the night in Savannah, but that's a long story. Yeah, we will go into it in a.
There's a lot of vomit in that story. Believe me.
I don't know, but we're approaching 2 hours, guys. You want to keep rolling, or what do you want to do?
I think it's a good idea. Like, let's plan down the line an Alan Parsons show, because I got all the albums and I play them regularly.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, listen, I'm interested in learning. Like, I missed Blue Oyster Cult, but I'm going to learn. I'm going to catch up with them. Like I said, I'm going to Lou. You're right. I'm going to start from the beginning. First album. That's the way to learn, right?
The first 4 albums I think are great.
I'm
going to take it one at a time. It's a stretch for me to even listen to the first one, but I'm going to listen to it. And Alan Parsons, I mean, I read a bit about Alan Parsons, and the things they have, but I've heard a couple of his songs. But there's another thing, like
I'm a late bloomer to Alan Parsons because all I kept hearing is he's this great progressive band, So I bought one of their albums and I heard pop. And I'm like, no, this ain't progressive.
Yeah.
So I was telling you, Perry, before the show, when you have a preconceived notion of a band and they don't match that preconceived notion, you don't like them. So for years, I just didn't listen to Alan Parsons. And then Tom Spallone, he's like, oh, you got to listen. Don't listen to them as a progressive band. They're just they're a music band. You know?
And then the drums aren't progressive.
Yeah.
The drums are pop. But the intros, the other musical aspects are very, very much so. Could be Pink Floyd.
Yeah.
And every time you hear them, I said, that was another hit they had.
Yeah.
I mean, they had a bunch of hits.
Tons of hits.
He used different singers, too, at different periods. So it's
always different singers. And
he's the boss. He can bring in whoever he wants, right?
And I think he makes the most money off that instrumental they have. I think it's called Sirius, not Sirius XM. Sirius. It's what all the basketball teams use. That there's like a thing on ESPN. It's this I can't hum it, but it's an instrumental track, and it goes into "Eye in the Sky," and NBA licensed that song. That is used, and he probably makes it.
Well, it's like that Brian May song, right? "We Will Rock You," or whatever. Yeah. Like, man, like Todd Rundgren, bang. I just want to work. I want to bang on the drum all day.
Gary Glitter, rock and roll. That's another sports anthem.
We Will Rock You. Boom, boom, back. Boom, boom, back.
Yeah.
Blue Oyster Cult. Fire of Unknown Origin, Veteran of the Psychic Word. It's almost right. Cult. I don't get good. Boom, boom, back. Boom,
yes.
Boom, boom, back.
Except Blue Oyster Cult used real drums.
They used real drums,
feet and
but also, he does a different pattern. But whereas We Will Rock You, where they're boom, boom, back, boom, over and over again. But there's some at least on the first album, Perry. Then came The Last Days of May.
Great song.
It's a Buck Dharma song. It's a beautiful song.
All right, I'm gonna give it a listen, and I will report back to you.
There's a song called Redeemed. Almost has a kind of a country feel.
All right, I will give it a listen.
Perry, you're as beautiful as a foot.
He's more beautiful than a foot.
All right.
Okay.
Hey, I've got homework, man. I've got homework. All right, guys. So you want to play the closing theme called Asheville Skyline?
Oh, I love it.
Do we still have the same email address?
We do. We are. You give it.
We are Music Relish Podcast at gmail.com.
And
and I think we have a website.
Yeah, we're available on YouTube.
Yep.
Yeah, on YouTube and Spotify
And Spotify played some video of the last one on me, and then it froze up. I don't think Spotify's supposed to play video.
No,
I don't know how that happened.
Spotify has video. They do. Yeah.
It does. I don't think we're formatted for video, but the audio comes through.
And soon there will be a Facebook page. It'll be this week.
Yeah, well, as I'm sure many people know, the real work begins after the show is over. So,
especially when you deal with me.
So, all right, guys, I'm going to play this song, and hopefully it comes right in, Lou.
It's been great.
Yeah. See you next time.
See you next time.
See you next time. There she is. I had a gas, guys.
Me too.
Me too.
Had a great time.
This is Asheville Skyline by the three of us.
By all three of us.
Just wish I played the solo better.
No latency.
Yeah. Lou, you sound like Steve Gadd.
Egads. I was going for Neil Peart here.
Shall I fade away?